Hello, and welcome to hell, basically. I don't know. This is, we promised we'd do something during Extra Life 2015 if we raised enough money. We did. We almost raised $40,000. And we promised that we would read George Romero's rejected Resident Evil movie script. It was for the first Resident Evil movie.
Rejected because it was too good.
Yeah. Capcom went on record just saying it just wasn't good, and that's why they.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was a former Capcom producer, and
I think it was something about they just didn't have the actors yet for this role.
Nobody is
quite capable. Yeah,
We need to let them grow up until the year 2015, around December-ish, and then we'll have the prime cast for the entire Resident Evil movie.
Exactly. And for people who don't know who George Romero is, he is the creator-director of Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. He is basically the granddaddy of modern zombies. If you like Walking Dead, if you like Resident Evil, it's because George Romero made those movies. So it seemed like a slam dunk, but if you're aware of his more recent films like Diary of the Dead, Survival of the Dead, they're hot garbage. But some people say we're going into this blind. We've never read this, and we're going to do this table reading on the spot and come up with characters. Well, the characters are established. We're going to figure out who plays them as we kind of go. We have some basic ones figured out, but we're going in blind. It could be better than the Paul W.S. Anderson one. This performance definitely will be the best Resident Evil film performance of all time.
Yeah, and if we get bored halfway through, we can just switch to The Wiz, right? And
Yes.
just do that entire thing live?
Yes, please.
Okay, great.
Jeff Cork's going to be our narrator.
Yes.
And I'm going to be, we're going to be a couple characters. I think you're Chris Redfield. Ben.
I'm Chris.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm going to be like Barry and Wesker, and Ben Reeves. You can expect
Jill.
Jill Valentine, maybe a little Rebecca Chambers in there.
Oh, I don't know why I'm the girls, but
Hey,
right.
I think you'll do a great job.
Call it like you see it. I
So
guess.
we'll
the prettiest one on
We'll
staff,
kick
of
in
course.
here pretty soon. And Wade, I'm not hearing everyone's voices through the headsets. I don't know if we're able to pipe those in real quick.
It could just be you.
Gotcha. All right, well let's dive in here.
We can't hear the live streamers through our mics either.
I'm on that. Don't worry.
So this is Resident Evil, an original screenplay by George Romero. Thanks to the people from newblood.com, new-blood.com for posting this screenplay.
Original screenplay is a weird way to frame it.
Yeah.
It's an adaptation, but...
Yeah, because it says it's based on the game by Capcom. Resident Evil, everyone I'm assuming is familiar.
Sure. You got it. Based on the game by Capcom.
All right.
Screen Story by George A. Romero.
Can we,
Peter Grunwald.
do we have any mood-setting music?
Wade in the booth.
Oh, here it comes. All right, Jeff Cork is
Are you
gonna
ready?
He's gonna set us up. There's quite a bit of exposition, just
All
as a
right.
heads up. Okay.
So get ready. You're going to hear my voice a lot. Presentation credits appear, then fade.
Hang on. What does it say when it's on the title screen, Tim? I think we need you.
we have that coming up later.
Oh, really? Oh, good God.
Oh, God. Out of black. Shot cut to interior lab A level. A man's face filling the screen.
This is Marcus. Tim, you
I
want
think
to take
it should be
Marcus?
Tim, yeah.
Stay away from here.
We're watching a video monitor. A pre-recorded tape shows a view of what is obviously a pristine research laboratory. Dr. John Marcus, in a lab coat, faces the camera, disheveled and looking like a madman.
This lab must remain sealed.
Interior conference room. Overhead lamps cast pools of light down onto a conference table, onto the hands of people assembled to observe the video. We see no faces, but expensive watches, sleeves with high-ranking stripes indicate wealth, power, and a military presence. The video. On the wall behind Marcus, we see shadows darting frantically. We hear voices rising in panic.
For God's sake, don't come in.
The camera is swatted by a hand that lurches violently into the foreground. We only see it for a few video frames, but we might subliminally notice lesions on the flesh. The image swirls wildly. The next clear picture we see is of the same laboratory, topsy-turvy.
Oh my God.
The camera is lying on its side on the floor. Voice in the room.
Look here.
Yeah. A laser pointer casts a red dot on a corner of the video screen, indicating a hunched figure leaning over a human body, apparently. Feeding. With a grunt, the camera turns and lunges. It's a face covered with blood at the camera. The image swirls again. The screen goes black. With a music sting, a single title appears, full across the blackness.
And the title says...
Resident Evil.
Yeah. Okay, let's soak it in real quick. Exterior, forest land, pre-dawn. A dark sky, and in the foreground, profiled against a full moon, a dark face watching the heavens with piercing black eyes. Alert, though not predatory. This is Chris Redfield, young, handsome. More than simply an outdoor type, he seems perfectly in place, almost part of the environment. A band of purple tints the horizon, outlining the tops of magnificent, uncorrupted hills that extend for miles. Sitting on a ridge, squinting into that band of light, Chris sees an eagle coasting on a channel of wind that cuts through the hilltops. As the bird moves swiftly closer, it becomes recognizable. Chris smiles and jots a note on a pad. The regal bird lands on a high rock where, unexpectedly, a freshwater trout lies flapping 3,000 feet above the highest water. Chris,
Take it, Goliath. It's yours.
Goliath, snaps up the fish and flies away with it.
See you next year, guy.
Chris reaches into a water-filled bucket, pulls out another trout, climbs efficiently, unerringly across a precarious cliffside, and deposits the fresh fish on the same high rock. Another eagle, smaller, a female, appears in the sky.
Cleopatra.
Chris scrambles back to his place and jots another note. Cleopatra spots the fish, pumps her wings, and swoops down. She's about to snap up the prize, but at the last minute she recoils and climbs again, hovering.
Come on down.
The eagle circles, its sharp eyes scanning. It makes another dive, but stops short again.
What's the matter, beautiful?
The bird seems frightened. Of what? It makes one more dive, gets very close to the fish, but suddenly shrieks and peels away from the rock. Chris sees its eyes, looking crazed as it soars right past him, its wings brushing his hair. Page 3. Close on, Chris, concerned as he watches the eagle disappear over the hills. Over his shoulder, we can see the high rock that holds the fish. It's out of focus in the background, but the moonlight catches something moving there, something that lets out a sharp, inhuman sound. Chris whirls around. There's nothing on the rock, nothing at all. The fish has been taken. Interior, Jill's apartment, dawn. Chris walks into a characterless apartment. He quietly sheds his clothes. Even in silhouette, we can see that his body is in perfect shape. Not pumped, but lean and tight. Moving lively with the natural grace of a cat, he eases himself onto a bed where a beautiful young girl, Jill Valentine, seems to be fast asleep. As Chris nestles in beside her, we see that her eyes, facing away, are open. Chris gently drapes an arm around her and lets his body relax.
Glad you're still here, lady.
It's my apartment.
You're awake.
I've been awake since you left.
Sorry.
His apology goes no further. He's still troubled by what happened in the hills.
There was something wrong.
What, with my dinner? What, with my dinner? I've never had a mother. I'll learn.
Chris smiles politely. He offers,
I'll do the cooking.
but he can't switch focus.
On the mountain, there must have been something prowling around up there.
There are probably all kinds of things prowling around up there. In the middle of the night.
Chris apologizes again, this time more sincerely.
I'm really, really sorry. You have to be there at dawn. They ride the wind over the ridge.
Dawn? You left at 1 a.m.
I had to go fishing. It's the fish that bring them down so I can get a close look at them. I've tracked a dozen of them, Jill. 12 of those big bruisers. I can actually recognize them. I've given them names over the years.
You've been doing this for years.
Only in the early autumn when they're migrating.
Jill rolls over and faces him.
Oh, I wish I could get excited. Really, that's the truth. As excited as you over such simple things.
Beauty isn't simple. If it was, I'd be beautiful.
All right, cut.
Cutting.
Shut down for a second.
All right,
All
we're
right.
cut.
Just real quick,
Yeah.
Ben, doing really good. Good delivery, good read of the lines.
What does Chris Redfield sound
is
like?
not Spyro the Dragon. Just as a heads up.
Oh, okay.
He's not after Nasty New York. These are zombies. Bring it down a little
Okay,
bit.
okay.
Confident.
He's confident, he's cool, he's
confident
sexy.
young man.
Thank
Okay,
you.
all right.
Lithe, cat-like.
And we're going to bring it back in on Chris with beauty isn't simple.
Okay.
And action.
Beauty isn't simple. If it was, I'd be beautiful.
You are.
No. I'm simple. You, on the other hand, have all that stuff hiding underneath somewhere. That's what fascinates me.
Fascination, not love.
Jill is being playful. Chris, taking her question to heart, becomes introspective.
I honestly don't know. I guess I've been living alone too long. You're the only woman I've ever thought of as a real partner, you know.
Now Jill becomes introspective.
I've always been afraid of living alone. I've always had people talking to me, knowing they could wind me up, and I'd do whatever they want.
Chris looks into her eyes. She kisses him gently.
We all have something hidden underneath. Beauty may not be simple, but it's not all that complicated either. Most of the time, you'll find it right in the middle of all the confusion.
I'm part Mohawk. Indians are never confused. At least, they never let it show.
They kiss again, this time more passionately. Rolling over, they begin to make love. Exterior, farm, dawn. The purple horizon is turning orange, but it's still quite dark when a crusty old farmhand, Rake, opens the creaking door of a stable and with a flashlight leads 3 horses out into the morning breeze. 2 dogs, a lab and a spaniel, romp at his heels as Rake opens a log gate. 2 of the untethered horses trot obediently into a large corral. The third, a beautiful stallion, resists, snorting, tossing its head in high spirits.
Get in there. Get in there, Lucky. Quit horsing around. Get in.
Lucky moves into the corral, strutting proudly.
Swear, if I didn't know it was just an animal, I'd say it was you were all full of yourself. Get in there.
Rake waves his flashlight, not meanly. There's clearly a great deal of affection here. Rake shuts the gate behind the stallion, who begins to gallop around happily inside the fence. All seems lovely until the dogs suddenly go on point. Their ears perk. They sniff the air and begin to whine.
Hey, what's wrong with you two?
Crack! A startling sound. Rake turns to find Lucky and the other horses, their eyes flaring, trying to kick their way out of the fencing. They seem terrified. Cut to a wide shot of Rake and the frightened animals from 200 yards away. The camera moves in slowly at first, then gaining speed. Extraordinary speed. We are seeing through the eyes of whatever it is that's running, charging, slathering hungrily, reaching the corral, darting through the fence, past the kicking horses, and leaping at Rake, who whirls around and cries out in pain as his flashlight blinds us with whiteness. Exterior, airbase, dawn. The whiteness becomes the glare of halogen lights. We are overwhelmed by the sound of aircraft engines. We see men, armed soldiers, scrambling into combat helicopters. A radio man runs right toward the camera, holding out an open receiver.
Top brass, sir.
Another man in the foreground takes the radio phone. We can't see his face, only his forearm, which bears a tattoo of a grinning skull.
Alpha leader.
How long before you get in there?
15 minutes.
Interior, an office, dawn. A suit talks on a red telephone. Once again, we see no face. An ostentatious diamond ring kicks light as the man snips off the end of a Monte Cristo.
You're good, soldier, but not that good. It's 500 miles away in the backwoods of Pennsylvania.
We have troopers on site. A first strike force undercover.
The flame from a wooden match lights the Monte Cristo.
Very resourceful. You have my permission. Activate them.
Exterior, airbase, dawn.
I've already done that. You have my permission to say that you gave me permission.
The tattooed man runs off to join the other soldiers. Interior, Jill's apartment, morning. Chris sleeps. Jill is awake, deep in thought when... Brrr, it's not a ring, it's a vibration. Jill reaches down and extracts something small and black, the size of a box of Tic Tacs, from one of her shoes. She gets out of bed, checking to see that Chris is still asleep, and moves into... Interior, Jill's apartment, bathroom, morning. A bathroom! Closing the door behind her, she puts the small box to her ear, extracts a wire from it with a tiny microphone on its tip, and...
Valentine,
We can't hear the voice that speaks to her.
if this is just another drill, I'll strangle you.
Cut. That's strangle. One more time. The line is strangle.
If this is just another drill, I'll strangle you. Shit. Give me the activation code.
Jill pulls a small envelope from a toiletry bag. She breaks open a wax seal and takes out a thick paper on which is printed 29 RC 6735.
That's a match. I'm on my way.
Jill clicks off. She dumps something else from the envelope into her hand, a blue plastic card the size of a Visa. blank except for a mag stripe. There's a small hole in one corner through which a chain is strung. Jill slings the chain over her head, wearing the blue card like a pendant. Interior, Jill's apartment, morning. Chris is still asleep. Jill comes out of the bathroom and looks down at him longingly. Should she wake him? Tell him what's happening? She wants to, but duty prevents it. She pulls herself away. Interior, Jill's apartment. Closet, morning. Chick, chick, chick. Jill pushes aside hangers with which hold her clothes. She types numbers into a hidden keypad. A secret panel opens, revealing a closet within the closet, packed with combat uniforms and weapons. Interior, Jill's apartment, morning. The sound, chunk, of the front door closing snaps Chris awake. His first thought is for his lover. He reaches out and finds that she's not in bed. He jumps up, rushes to a window, looks down from the second story and sees... Exterior, Jill's apartment, morning. Jill, heavily armed, in uniform, wearing a beret that has an insignia. Stars. She rushes down the front path and jumps into a Hummer with 3 other troopers on board. The vehicle pulls instantly away, leaving Chris looking through the window, puzzled, angry, and very much wounded. Interior, exterior, Hummer, morning. Russo drives, Williams and Disimone. What? All right, let's just get this squared away, guys.
Cut.
Is it
Dissimony?
Dissimony? Dissimony Sam?
Dissimony?
Dissimony cricket?
Sure.
Dissimony.
All right.
All right.
Russo,
And
Williams and Dissimony.
action.
Russo drives. Williams and Dissimony sit in the back. All tough special forces types. Jill on the front passenger seat, though the only female, ranks the highest.
I'm Dissimony. Another practice run, right?
We've been practicing for 6 months. For what?
For this is the real deal.
Williams, honest to God?
Based on my experience, Williams, God isn't always honest.
Dissimony, where are we going?
In there.
Jill points into Arklay Forest, which lies ahead. Miles of old-growth trees shrouded in a ghostly morning mist. Dissolved to exterior, the forest, morning. Deep in the heart of the mist, the Hummer bounces over non-roads and stops 50 yards from a pair of iron gates, each wrought with the letter A. Beyond, the shifting fog offers momentary glimpses of a mansion. Huge, like Xanadu. The troopers, amazed, climb out and approach the gates.
If you had the jing to build a place like this, would you build it in the middle of fucking nowhere?
Williams, Paris. Dissimony, Manhattan, Upper West.
Some people prefer a quiet life. Our orders are to secure the area.
From what? This area has been secure since the French and Indian War.
A deep animal snarl comes from the woods. The troopers raise their weapons as they peer into the underbrush. The fog keeps sunlight from penetrating. This forest is a maze of dark shadows. Leaves flutter, limbs snap, then dark shapes can be seen moving, circling. A half dozen of them, maybe more. Jill whips out a transmitter and quickly types an access code.
This is Valentine, Bravo team. We might be in trouble here.
Critch! Something leaps out of the brush. Automatic weapons spit reflexively. Critch, critch, critch. More lunging shapes appear. The troopers scatter, firing as they're attacked from all sides. Jill dives for the shrubbery, shouting into her transmitter.
We're in trouble here!
Cut to interior, Huey, morning. Jill's voice stutters over a headset which is pressed against a man's ear.
Under attack by silence, unidentified.
Static, hissing air. The shot widens as the man lowers his headset. First we see the tattoo on his arm, a grinning skull, which we recognize. Then gradually we see his face, lean and mean, wearing dark sunglasses. This is Albert Wesker, a hard-ass career officer.
Can you get a trace?
The pilot, LaGuardia, responds.
Lost the beacon. It just cut out like it was swallowed by something.
Oddly, Wesker smiles.
I do believe, gentlemen, that we're going to be earning some combat pay.
There are 3 other men on board. The closest to Wesker is Barry Burton, a muscular black man, as big as a grizzly with the heart of a teddy.
All right, cut. I'm going to try to be Wesker and Barry.
You can totally do
Can I do it? Okay, all right.
One-man show. Here we go.
And action. Okay. I do believe, gentlemen, that we're going to be earning some combat pay. Oh, I just said that. All right, okay. I'm Barry now. All right. Damn, if you don't love a fight, Wesker. Hey, if I didn't, you'd be a dead man. To the pilot. Call in a 9-9. I want Raccoon City evac'd.
Wesker and the men fly from the lens. The camera passes out through one of the helicopter's windows as the chopper soars away. When the shot widens, we see the other Hueys, black, unmarked, keeping formation. 3, 6, 10 of them. Exterior forest, morning. Guns blaze. The troopers are under assault by thrashing inhuman shapes. Growling, snapping. Jill rolls into a natural trench. Dissimony is behind her. Williams is crawling just ahead, his legs pumping. Jill scoots past him and sees that those legs aren't moving on their own. They've been ripped away from Williams' torso and are being dragged into the underbrush by some beast. Concealed in the thick brush, so we never get a clear look at it. Other beasts attack Dissimony, then Rousseau. We only see details. Or we see only details. Jill fires her pistol, point blank to no avail. Red-rimmed eyes, snarling jaws, drooling teeth descend on her as we cut to exterior. Jill's apartment building. Morning. Chris steps out of Jill's building. Suddenly, incongruously, camo-painted Hueys swoop down out of the sky. Exterior. Raccoon City, Main Street. Morning. The choppers land where they can. Commandos leap out and begin to cordon off the town. Bullhorns blare.
There's been an accident in the hills nearby. A military aircraft carrying live weapons has crashed.
Exterior, Raccoon City. Side street, morning. Chris runs down a side street into an alley where he's tracked by commandos, both in front and behind.
Let's go, Hayseed. You gonna be a good boy?
Chris swallows his fury. Gritting his teeth, he goes along with the soldiers, prodded by rifle barrels, out into exterior, Raccoon City, Main Street, morning. Main Street, where there's chaos. An Orwellian sight as citizens find themselves herded into helicopters and trucks from the local National Guard post. A sweating man, still in his pajamas, rushes up to the soldiers that are escorting Chris.
Look here, I'm the sheriff of this town.
Step aside.
But I'm sheriff. I'm ex-army like you.
There is no immediate danger, but as a precaution, we are evacuating the area. You will be provided shelter until the weapons have been removed from the crash site.
That's a worn-out scenario. If a plane crashed nearby, don't you think somebody would have heard it go down? Tell us the truth, guys. What's really this about?
I said step aside.
The soldier lifts his rifle. He's about to club the sheriff when Chris lunges, grabbing his arm. Woof! Chris kicks the soldier in the balls. The man buckles. Chris bolts. One of the other commandos fires at him. A loud burst which misses Chris but shatters a shop window, setting off wild panic on the street. Chris ducks into a building. Exterior, Raccoon City, back street. And out a rear door. He runs through a warren of back alleyways, arriving at the Jeep Sahara, which is parked outside Jill's apartment building. He jumps in without opening the door, jams the key into the ignition, and roars off. Interior, Huey, morning. Still airborne, in one of the black helicopters that have yet to reach the site, Wesker barks orders into a radio.
Charlie, David, Edward, proceed to Raccoon City. Assist the evac. I'm going on target with Alpha Team. All forces stand ready to support.
Exterior, farm morning. Chris rumbles his Jeep onto a picturesque farm secluded deep in the forest. We don't recognize it immediately. It was dark when we last saw the place. Jumping out, Chris sees 3 large shapes lying in the grass of a corral. Rushing over, Chris realizes they're horses. One of them is Lucky, his prize stallion, dead in a pool of blood with its belly torn open and a huge chunk out of its neck.
Oh no! Lucky!
Chris hears a weak moaning sound. He turns and sees Rake lying near a water pump. Chris rushes to the man's side and finds him brutally slashed, barely clinging to life.
They come out of the trees, ready. Redfield. Don't know what they was. Figure maybe some kind of wolves or something.
Examining the man's wounds, Chris realizes they're fatal.
I never seen them coming.
Don't try to talk, Rake.
I ain't never left this farm untended since your daddy first took it over.
I know you kept the place running better than me.
I never seen him coming, Reddy. Never even had a chance to turn a gun on him.
There's a thunder in the sky. Chris looks up. Wesker's fleet of black Hueys appear on the horizon. They split up. 7 banking off toward Raccoon City. The remaining 3 grinding ahead over the forest, slowing down, dropping in altitude.
Where are they going? There's nothing in there except...
You oughta remember it real good. I do from when you was a kid.
The old Arclay place?
I remember them days. I surely do. Remember them. Them old days.
Chris looks back down at the old man who is drifting, starting to lose it.
I'm not gonna bullshit you, Rake. You're in a bad time. If there's any way to save you, I'll find it, I swear. You're just hang in there, old guy. I'll be right back.
Chris jumps to his feet and runs into interior, farmhouse. The great room of the farmhouse. Rustic, Cozy. Chris snatches up a telephone. There's no dial tone. The line is dead. Chris rushes to a gun cabinet and pulls out an old Winchester rifle. He scoops ammo from a drawer into a shoulder bag and runs back outside. Exterior, farm, morning, where his eyes catch movement in the corral. Lucky, on trail spilling, is trying to stand.
Oh, God, Rake. Oh, Jesus, the poor thing's still alive.
Chris shoulders his ammo bag, reaches inside, and quickly reloads the Winchester. Stepping forward, he aims carefully.
Sorry, old hoss.
Blam! A clean shot to the horse's brain drops the animal. It takes Chris a long moment to recover. Then he looks into the trees. The helicopters are no longer in
dead.
sight, but their thunder remains.
Already, of course.
They haven't landed yet. Chris turns and rushes back to Rake's side, only to find he has died. Chris's jaws tighten, but he has no time to mourn. He closes Rake's eyes, digs through the grass, pulls up a handful of dirt, stuffs it into the old man's hand, and closes his stiffening fingers over it.
The earth keeps us.
Conquering his emotions, Chris runs to his Jeep and jumps in. He shifts into four-wheel drive and, ignoring the road, heads straight over the field for the trees. As the Jeep disappears, the camera cranes down, zooming in on one of the farm dogs, the spaniel. Not the entire animal, but one of its three separate parts. Its front end, crushed head, bloody neck, and a single broken paw, which is trying to crawl. 50 yards away, Rake's hand relaxes. The earth spills out through his fingers as the dead man's eyes pop open. Exterior, Arklay Forest morning. The first of the black Hueys drops hazardously into a small clearing with barely enough space. Unable to land on the scrub brush, it hovers 10 feet off the ground. Its rotors clip tree leaves as Wesker, Barry, and two other STARS commandos jump out, heavily armed. The chopper lifts off, placed by Huey number 2. Not far away, Chris navigates through the undergrowth until he can see the helicopters through the trees. The thunder from their rotors masks the grinding of Chris's Jeep. He pulls within 100 yards and, leaving his vehicle in the bush, moves closer, cautiously on foot. The third Huey airdrops 2 men and 2 women in STARS uniforms. There are 12 commandos in all. Alpha Team. Wesker looks into the Huey's pilot, using his radio to speak to the man.
You'll have to rotate, or you'll run out of fuel. But I want one chopper to remain in the air at all times. We might need help in a hurry.
All right, cut. Wesker, you're going to have to get your shit
I'm
together.
working on it. It was broken between 2 different pages.
Look, you wanted this job or not?
Yeah, okay, no, I can be STARS captain. I got it, all right?
Were you drinking last night?
No, man. Maybe that's the problem. All right.
All right.
Roger
get
that.
your stuff together.
Get
Okay.
your
Watch
shit
back
together.
as the Huey banks away. Barry looks worried. His instincts are asking, we might need help. Against what? We only see this in his eyes. He says nothing as Wesker leads the team through woods, unaware of Chris, following behind, crouching around trees and bushes. Not a trained commando, but comfortable with the land. A natural warrior using ancestral instincts. The camera tracks combat boots as they crunch through the low-lying mist, stopping abruptly when they encounter weapons, ammo belts, bits of shredded uniforms, and human body parts strewn all throughout the surrounding bush, remnants of what obviously was a feeding frenzy. Holy God!
This is Brad Vickers. Brad Vickers.
Brad Vickers vomits. Unarmed, he's Alpha Team's computer techie. Not a combat soldier, he's a bit of a coward. Another non-combatant, Rebecca Chambers, is the team's medical officer. She digs an ammonia capsule from her pack and holds it under Vickers' nose. Richard Aiken and Kenneth Sullivan are buddies, regular G.I. Joes, right out of every war movie. Aiken stares at the carnage, calmly chewing a wad of gum.
You ever eat roadkill, Sullivan?
Aiken, a guy with a brain your size would be better off dead. Rodriguez. Cork, you want to be Rodriguez?
You want me to shoot you, Aiken? Rosie Rodriguez, a tough body-built babe, steps in.
Just bodybuilding.
I'm ready to shoot somebody.
I'll pass. Shoot Sullivan.
Forrest Spire, a wiry...
Spare.
Spare?
Spayer.
Speyer. Forrest Speyer. A wiry Willem Dafoe type finds a bloody beret and brings it to Wesker. There's an ID tag on the brim. Reading the tag, Valentine. Radio Washington. Bravo team found it on site. No survivors. In the bushes, Chris overhears not wanting to believe. He sees Wesker angrily pitch Jill's beret into the brush.
We're going in. Watch your backs.
Wesker advances his troops. When the coast is clear, Chris rushes in, picks up the beret, and sees the name tag for himself. Valentine. After what happened at the farm, now this. Feeling sucker punched, defeated, Chris hangs his head. One of the Hueys dips in low. Chris looks up. The sight of the war machine lifts him from defeat to rage. His eyes are soft for the last time as he tucks Jill's beret into his pack. When he looks up again, those eyes have become newly predatory. He ducks up out of sight as the helicopter swings lower. Downdraft from the rotors makes the bushes rustle, catching Chris's attention. He realizes that it's not just the wind. The shrubs are being disturbed by something dark, which is moving through them. Pokes its head out. A wolf. Rake was right. Chris readies his Winchester as the animal stalks forward. It's not a wolf. It's a dog. Mottled, it's fresh gray, covered with rotting lesions. And it has 3 bleeding bullet holes in its belly, chest, neck. Growr. It leaps at Chris, who fires.
Bang!
Up ahead, Wesker and his commandos freeze.
Who fired? Who fired?
Before anyone can answer, the team is attacked by more dogs, which burst out of the surrounding woods. Dobermans and shepherds. But something is seriously wrong with all of them. Their eyes are dead, their flesh decaying. Automatic piss streams of lead. Hot rounds tear through the animals. Many of the slugs accidentally blowing out brains. As bullets hit the target, one of the dogs' heads. All right. The commandos are backed up against the iron gates we saw earlier. The Arklay mansion stands beyond.
I think it's you.
Rodriguez.
Let's get inside.
No! I want them all dead! You hear me? Stand fast until they are all dead!
The dogs don't stand a chance. Alpha Team's firepower is overwhelming. But there's a human casualty. Joseph Frost trips and falls. One of the dogs pounces on him, chewing out his heart through his back.
Joseph!
Wesker steps in, riddling the dead man and the dog with 40 rounds from his M16. 2, 3, 4, 5. In the next instant, another dog leaps at Wesker from behind. He hears it snarl. It's too late. He dives into the grass. Too late. The dog is about to land on him when it's blasted out midair by Barry.
Even Steven, boss. You saved my ass in the desert. I saved yours in Pennsylvania.
Wesker stands, straightening his ever-present sunglasses.
I don't believe in being even Steven with anybody. A man saves my ass, I pay him back. Before this day is over, I'll pay you back, Barry. Just stick with me, okay?
Wesker checks his equipment belt. Something is missing. He looks to where he rolled in the grass. Using a flashlight, he finds a small electronic unit the size of a cell phone. But it's not a cell phone. Whatever it is, Wesker clips it onto his belt. From the brush, Chris sees all of this. The guns have gone silent. The attack seems to be over. Chris moves stealthily to the body of the animal that he shot. It's wearing a collar which reads, Spike number 26. Alongside the ID, there's a corporate-looking logo, the symbol of an umbrella. Growl. Another dog is advancing on Chris. He aims his Winchester. Click. The magazine is empty. No time to reload. The dog is on him. Chris scrambles away. The dog bounds after him. Chris drops to the ground. Did he trip? No. He pushes the tree root, which is false. It swings open and he dives in, pulling the root shut over him. The dog arrives an instant later. It lets out an angry howl and is blown away by Rodriguez, who neither saw Chris nor where he went. The forest goes dead quiet. Too quiet. There's not even the chirping of morning birds. Wesker is slapped startlingly on the back by Barry.
Look here, man. I'd follow you into into any kind of enemy fire. But these things ain't firing at us. They want us for breakfast. When are you gonna tell us what the hell is going on here? When you need to know. Just do your job, soldier. That's what I'm doing. My job.
Wesker pulls a chain from under his shirt. It holds a card, the size of a Visa, like the one Jill found in her secret envelope, only Wesker's isn't blue. It's green. Stepping away from Barry, he slides the card through a slot in the iron gate frame. Buzz. The gates swing open with a rusty squeal. Interior, tunnel, morning. Chris crawls through a long, dark shaft with earthen walls, a man-made tunnel. Exterior, Arklay Forest Mansion, morning. At the mansion's front door, a hand-carved monolith of solid oak. Wesker finds another hidden slot and swipes his card. The giant door creaks open. Interior, mansion, central hall. Inside, the place looks like a haunted house, a glorious ruin, once spectacular, now mysterious and threatening. The chandeliers and furniture are covered with sheets that ripple on breezes from 1,000 faults in the old walls. Indistinct noises echo within the ceiling of the floor as Alpha Team enters.
Old. They probably don't have cable.
Sullivan. They probably don't have the radio.
Who's this? Whose place is this? Wesker shuts the front door. The booming sound makes us wonder if we will ever see it opened again.
Guy named Arkley, bootlegger. Built this old forest during Prohibition. He figured nobody ever find him out here in the backwoods. Nobody did, till he died. Feds have had it ever since. Place has been here for 80 years. Derelict. Safe house. Barry. A safe house? For who? For what? There's a secret installation below. A network of laboratories.
Rebecca, what kind of laboratories?
They didn't issue us gas masks, so I figure it's okay to breathe.
Why send in a strike force?
Sullivan.
Yeah. Who was Sullivan?
I think I am. Okay. Yeah. What are we supposed to do? Polish the silver?
Dude.
There's a man downstairs. A top priority man. It's our job to bring him out. Hopefully there are others alive as well. We'll rescue them too, if we can. But Dr. John Marcus, he comes out alive at any and all cost.
Interior mansion, corridor, morning. Though it's still morning, the windows are sealed over. No sunshine can enter. From this point on, there will be no indication of time except as shown on clocks.
Oh, okay.
A sense of dread takes hold of us as dark shadows lurch. Feet scrape sluggishly, not in combat boots, but in Nikes, loafers, Dr. Martens. Past an accordion gate of corroded bronze, a motor hums. Behind the gate, an old-fashioned service elevator rises, but stops just below floor level. Eyes peer out, waiting for the shuffling feet to pass. Then the car rises the rest of the way, revealing its occupant. Jill Valentine! She's alive! She deactivates the elevator by pulling her blue access card out of an incongruously modern receptacle. Checking to be sure that the coast is clear, she slides the accordion gate aside and steps out into the corridor. With a ghostly moan, something lunges at her out of the shadows. It's a man in a lab coat. His skin is rotting, his teeth snapping like the dog's. He tries to bite Jill, not merely to do injury. He seems hungry. Jill leaps aside, lifting her pistol and firing once, twice, 3 times. The man is shot in the stomach, heart, neck, but he keeps coming. Finally, Jill shoots him in the head, and he falls. Jill quickly reloads on instinct. But as she does it, she stares at the corpse, frowning, weighing lifelong belief against the hideous facts of the moment. Interior mansion, Central Hall, morning. Wesker and his troopers hear the gunshots. There are 3 doors nearby. Wesker selects one that seems to lead to the source of the gunshots. Using his card, he unlocks it.
Shh. 3 men stay here. Chambers.
I'm not a man.
Rodriguez.
I'm better than a man.
What?
Wesker grins, but hardly skips a beat.
All right. You come with us. Aiken, Sullivan, stick here with Chambers.
The troop moves out. Aiken and Sullivan remain in the central hall with Rebecca.
Why us?
Sullivan. I don't know why me. You? I guess the CEO figures you're as worthless as a dame, Aiken.
Sullivan catches Rebecca's eye.
Sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean Aiken, not you.
Relax, I get it.
Interior mansion library. Timeless. Wesker leads his troop into an enormous cobweb library lined with books, shelves, but no books. There are doorways on all 4 walls. Wesker pulls out something that looks like a Game Boy. He types on a keypad. A map of the mansion appears. Wesker strolls with the arrow keys. Barry looks on, very impressed with a high-tech unit.
That thing tells you where to go?
Wesker doesn't answer. He pockets the Game Boy.
1 man stays here. Ridley, you're it. Shoot to kill. Just make sure it's not one of us. The rest of you, this way.
Wesker leads his squad through one of the doorways. Ridley, a young rookie, remains. Interior underground cavern. Chris reaches the end of the earthen tunnel. There are signs that children once played here. Toy soldiers, graffiti. Chris finds his nickname, Christopher Reddy, etched in hardened mud. After a moment of reflection, he moves on into interior entry chamber, a small sheetrock chamber. Chris rushes to a door that looks like it's been there since the beginning of time. As he touches the knob, an alarm sounds. Interior mansion kitchen. Ridley, standing guard, hears the alarm. He hears Chris jiggling the knob, but he sees no door. The walls around him seem to be solid slabs. Interior entry chamber. Chris can't get the doorknob to turn. Behind him, a dusty oriental carpet bulges upward. One corner flops aside. Interior mansion kitchen. Ridley is spooked by the sound. Frightened, trembling, he unslings his rifle.
Who's there?
Interior entry chamber. Chris doesn't hear the trooper. Behind him, a decomposed hand pokes out of a drainage ditch beneath the carpet. It gropes, finds purchase on the floor. Chris is unaware of the danger. He hurls himself against the door. He can't break through. The thing that climbs out of the ditch was once a man, once a scientist. It's wearing a lab coat and a pair of thick glasses, but it's long dead. It's a zombie. As it pulls itself up, its eyeglasses strike the side of the ditch. They fall, clattering, the rim scraping the zombie's cheek, which peels away like onion skin. Chris hears the noise, turns and sees the dead man reaching out hungrily. Chris is trapped. He aims his Winchester. Click. He forgot it's empty. The zombie pulls itself fully onto the floor. Chris digs in his shoulder bag, pulls out a handful of bullets, and with them, accidentally Jill's beret.
That's mine.
Rising emotion stops him for a moment. The dead man crawls toward him. Chris might not have time to load. As he tries to jam a bullet into his rifle, the zombie swats at him, catches the beret, looks at it, sniffs it. The bullet pops out of Chris's nervous fingers. He tries to load another. Interior, mansion, kitchen. Ridley spots a blue access slot in the wall. He levels his automatic and chews the thing up with a short burst. A panel swings open. Chris dives out with the zombie inches behind him. Ridley fires off another burst of rounds. Stray bullets pierce the zombie's head. It drops back into the chamber with Ridley never knowing why. Ridley and Chris look at each other, asking rapid-fire questions. None of them answered.
Who are you?
Who are you? What the hell is stars?
How did you get in
Who
here?
sealed the door?
You knew there was a door? Who knew there a door? Is actually
Wham! Another zombie appears, suddenly behind Ridley, biting out the muscle between his shoulder and neck. The trooper stands, stunned for a moment.
Who?
Then he drops. The zombie, in a uniform, once a security guard, gazes dully at Chris. A wet sound comes from inside its gullet as it calmly chews on Ridley's flesh. Swallowing, it reaches out. Chris grabs its arms, flings it into the chamber, then fires his Winchester once, putting a hole in the thing's head. Chris slams the door.
Clunk.
Interior, mansion, dining room. In a Hearst-sized dining room with draped furniture, Wesker and the other troopers have heard the new gunfire.
Where'd that come from?
You're spare, for a spare. I'm Barry here.
Spare.
Back where we just were.
Spare. Shit, man. We're chasing our tails.
Interior, mansion, kitchen.
Cut. Hey, for new characters
Yes.
or peripheral characters, Cork, could you give us a quick
Like who they are?
who they are real quick? We'll say the line.
You got it, baby.
Thank you. You're a good talker. And action.
Interior,
The Mitchin.
Interior, mansion,
Don't mention
kitchen.
I'm in the mansion.
I'm in the
kitchen.
mansion, kitchen. Chris hears the clattering
You're
of
a
the
good
troopers
talker.
heading his way. What he doesn't hear is a slight crackling in the walls. Interior, mansion, corridor. Wesker and his team burst into the corridor with the old-fashioned elevator. Flashlights find the body of the zombie that was shot by Jill. Bullet holes all over its body. Spare.
Damn. CERN bitch took a lot of lead.
Barry.
That's not what killed him. Blood's still running. Wounds are fresh. But look at his skin. This guy's been dead for a couple days.
Rodriguez. He was dead before he was shot? Interior, mansion, kitchen. Chris checks Ridley. No pulse. His own rustling movements prevent him from hearing that soft crackling sound. The kitchen is lined with 50-year-old ivy-patterned wallpaper. The printed vines seem to be moving. Chris doesn't notice until the vines begin to wiggle furiously and rip through the paper. They're real! Sprouts from some sort of exotic plant that have climbed up the walls with intelligence. They seem aware of Chris's presence. Rebecca.
Ridley!
Rebecca has appeared in an open doorway. Chris looks at her with the tips of the vines beginning to brush his shoulders.
Who are...
I'm just one of the good guys, okay? I'm just trying to.
Sullivan! Aiken!
Shit!
Chris, familiar with the room, opens a small door in the wall, barely man-sized and almost invisible because it's covered in matching wallpaper. Chris dives in. Aiken and Sullivan pop up behind Rebecca, having barely caught a glimpse of Chris.
Who was that?
Forget them. What are they?
Sullivan points at the vines, which are swirling, groping as if alive, making their way toward Ridley's body. Interior mansion, shoot. In a laundry chute, propping himself down against the slides, Chris descends down, as he did as a child, and comes out onto interior crawl space. A drop ceiling, newly installed. Iron frames support air filtration systems and other heavy machinery. Sheet metal walls have replaced the old soffit and fascia. Another architect. Light from somewhere below knifes through gridded iron vents.
Somebody did some major remodeling.
Interior mansion, kitchen. The vines continue to advance.
Rebecca. Oh, yeah. You had it. We got to get him out!
The troopers rush to retrieve Ridley's body. The vines hover around them, occasionally darting, then pulling back as if they were timid animals, hungry but afraid of a new food dish. When Aiken brandishing his M16, the vines recoil and retract fully, thwit, 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 behind the wallpaper and down, somewhere into the bowels of the house.
What? Smart fucking plants?
Sullivan.
No big deal. Most plants are smarter than you, Aiken.
Interior
Hello.
mansion corridor. The others are still puzzling over the downed zombie. Spare.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. Why would anybody shoot a dead man?
Rodriguez. Let me guess, maybe because he was walking around? Barry steps closer to the corpse, notes its collapsed skull.
Headshot. We were spraying those dogs outside, but think about it. Were I even brought down without a headshot?
Wesker has been exploring the corridor. Stopping in front of the elevator, he shines his light into the car. We expect someone, or something, to be lurking inside. An attack comes from the opposite direction. A figure bursts out of the shadow, behind Wesker. Another zombie? No, it's Jill. In a rage, she holds her pistol to Wesker's head.
I lost 3 me. I think I'm supposed to say men. You killed them, Wesker. You did. And I did. Because I didn't know what to expect. Because you didn't tell me.
Tell you what?
Anything. I wasn't told anything.
Put down the gun.
Instead, Jill clicks the hammer back.
Put the gun down.
Not until...
Release! That's an order, soldier!
Jill blinks, slowly, reluctantly. She lowers her gun. Wesker turns and recognizes her.
How'd you get in here?
How you doing, Valentine? Good to see you. Glad you're still alive. Same here, Colonel.
How did you get in here?
The same way those fucking dogs got out. They're through their pens. I locked them off.
Good thinking.
A voice interrupts from the end of the corridor.
Man down!
The voice is Sullivan's. The troopers rush to join him. Last to leave the corridor are Wesker and Jill. Wesker gestures gallantly.
Ladies first.
You.
Interior, mansion, kitchen. The troopers trickle into the kitchen to find Rebecca kneeling over Ridley's corpse, examining the ragged bite on its neck. Rodriguez. Maybe they're in the house. More of them dogs.
Rebecca. Diameter's too small. It almost looks as if it was done by
Jill.
a human.
Rebecca looks up. The two women make sisterly eye contact.
I feel as if I know you. Rebecca. Yes, but what kind of human would do a thing like this?
Not a vegetarian, that's for sure.
Sullivan.
Aiken. You'd be better off.
It's a weird read.
Cut. Cut. I could do that one better.
Yeah, we're gonna need a much better version.
Okay, all right, gotcha. All right, so let's take it again from Aiken, not a vegetarian.
Okay.
And I mean, you're a fat guy. All right, and action.
Not a vegetarian, that's for sure.
Aiken, you'd be better off.
Rebecca, there was a guy, not part of this team, and there was some kind of a plant that seemed alive.
Rodriguez. Give me a fucking break.
No shit. It disappeared right into the wall.
Rodriguez cringes when she finds a ragged hole in the wall paper where she's standing. Wesker.
I guess it's time to spill it.
Wesker pulls off his dark sunglasses for the first time.
I don't know much more than I already told you. I'll tell you the rest now. The lab's The labs here are okay. All right. The labs here were working on special apps for bioengineered materials.
Speak English, hombre.
Marcus has been experimenting with an artificial man-made virus, coded the T virus. Financing came from a private corporation. You may have heard the name Umbrella.
Jill, they're multinational, huge.
So huge that they have connections in high places. That's why we're here. Barry, this virus, it jumped, right?
Spare. Shit, we're all dead. We got the bug. We're all dead.
Wesker, it's not airborne. It was spread in the water supply. Lab animals and the researchers themselves passed it on by...
Jill, by biting?
Wesker hangs his head. It's an affirmation.
Barry, you catch this virus and what? Wesker, you die, but not for long. The chemical revives the brain and...
You stand back up and chew on the first guy you see.
Spare. Christ, this is like Night of the Living Dead.
Cut. What? That's super self-indulgent. George Romero putting a Night of the Living Dead reference.
Those are being like, hey, it's almost like Resident Evil ripped off my movie.
It's also acknowledging zombies after they've been established as a surprising element, and people
Right.
are surprised that headshots work.
Yeah.
But they all acknowledge that Night of the Living Dead exists in this world, so they should all be pros.
Right.
Okay. All right. So, okay. Spare. Let's bring it back in on Spare. Night of the Living Dead. Go ahead,
Spare. Christ, this is like Night of the Living Dead.
Barry. Why in the name of Jesus would anybody want to mess with this shit? That does that shit. Okay. Wesker. Victory, friend. Civilization has come a long way, but we still have war. Imagine a soldier who can't die. That was the concept.
Jill, but the virus jumped.
Hopefully, if we got all the dogs, we've contained it.
Hopefully. Jesus, why didn't you tell us?
By telling you now, I've put your lives in jeopardy. Nobody has this information, except a few high and mighties. Me, and now you.
The troopers fall silent as all this sinks in.
We have to get Marcus out of here. He developed this thing. He's the only one who understands it.
Rebecca. I don't know. This all sounds pretty shaky to me.
With a lightning move, Wesker draws his pistol and blam, fires at Rebecca. She flinches. The bullet flies past her and shatters the skull of Ridley, the dead trooper who, having stood up, was about to attack Rebecca from behind. Ridley drops dead again. Rodriguez. Guess that proves it. A headshot knocks him down. Rebecca turns and looks at the blood-splattered body.
That man was dead. I'm a doctor. I should know. That man was dead.
Vickers reaches in Rebecca's bag, pulls out an ammonia capsule, cracks it, and holds it under her nose.
Who was Vickers?
I think.
Am I Vickers?
Oh, was it me? I hope you have a lot of these.
Ba-dum-bum. Interior crawl space. Chris crawls across the drop ceiling into the uprising light from one of the vents. He looks down through the gridwork and sees the same laboratory that was behind Marcus in the opening video. No longer pristine, it's wrecked, torn apart. Files are scattered everywhere, along with smashed fragments of furniture and computer hardware. Cages that line the wall are filled with labbed animals, making nervous chatter. Chris watches a monkey sip water from a dish. Like the other animals, its skin is rotting. Chris is about to move on when his eye catches movement. Outside the cages, there's a man in a lab coat sitting at a desk writing on a notepad.
Hey!
Close on, the man's hand flaking, decomposing. The pen it holds is only making random, erratic marks.
Hey!
The man turns his head slowly to look toward the voice. There's nothing left of his face. Raw tissue seeps, odd-colored fluids. A single eyeball is nested tenuously in the ooze. Something like a mouth, recognizable only because of its position, opens and groans. Chris, pumping his rock Winchester, hears crang, a noise from below. He looks down again just as the lab door bursts open. Wesker and Alpha Team stream into the lab. The thing with the destroyed face turns around toward the invaders, stands and shuffles toward them. Without hesitation, Wesker, on point, fires a quick burst into the thing's brain. It drops like a sack. The lab animals shriek. The team files in, not noticing another zombie crawling across the floor, heading directly for Spare. Chris shouts, "Heads up!" He punches out the grate with the barrel of his rifle and blam! Punches a surefire hole in the zombie's head. Brad Vickers, his nerves badly frayed, thinks that the team is being attacked. He sprays the ceiling with his automatic. Chris ducks and rolls, narrowly escaping the initial barrage, but bullets keep coming, punching a dotted line up through the ceiling panels. That bullet's not you. Chris scrambles as fast as he can, his feet barely escaping the punch holes. He finds himself on top of an enormous checkerboard of vents and plexiglass panels. Bullets weaken the framework. It sags, then cracks, dropping away. Chris is plunged into interior lab, level A. Water! Chris kicks, paddles with his rifle, righting himself, getting his bearings. He's in a huge aquarium that's built in one of the laboratory's walls, and he's not alone. There are 6 sharks in the tank. Zombie sharks, their flesh rotting, leaking pus. Yuck. The largest of them snaps at Chris, but its jaws catch only a clump of his swirling hair. Chris kicks with his feet, remaining upright, and fires his wet Winchester. The bullet wimps out, restrained by the water. It penetrates the shark, but barely. We can see the casing lodged in the animal's flesh. Chris gets an idea. He kicks forward, plants the barrel of his Winchester directly against the aquarium glass, only to find himself aiming directly at Jill, who is aiming back at him with her M16. They're both stunned. They stare at each other for a moment like gunfighters until another shark circles in for an attack. Chris swings the Winchester away from Jill and fires underwater. The aquarium glass cracks but holds.
Hang on. We're gonna get wet.
Jill fires. More cracks, but the glass is resistant. Chris out. Water surges into the lab, knocking Wesker and some of his squad down. They stand up again, only to find themselves knee-high in a dark pool with shark fins slicing the surface. Everyone opens fire. The dead fish keep coming.
Where the fuck is the shark's brain?
Sullivan. In its head, I swear. Aiken, you'd be better off dead.
In a bizarre frenzy, the sharks kick their tails, making startlingly quick turns, darting every which way, snapping at the scent of warm flesh. The troopers, hampered by the water, splash around wildly, many of them getting nearly bitten. The air above thickens with the fog of graphite from 10 spitting automatics. The water gets darker as it becomes clouded with blood, but thankfully the level is dropping. The water is seeping out through grates in the floor. The sharks become more visible, moving slower as their bellies scrape the floor. Troopers pick them off one by one. The immediate threat passes. But as the water drains away, the troopers become aware of a klaxon-like sound. Another alarm! The entry door glides shut with a boom.
Wesker. Nice. Very nice, Valentine. You set off a containment... Oh, wait, hold on. Nice. Very nice, Valentine. You set off a containment breach.
It must have been the water. God, the water! She turns to Chris. Did you swallow any? I did. Salt and Spare. I did.
Sullivan. A bunch of us did, man. Wesker. Separate systems. Saltwater, no germs. But it breached.
Wesker, looking crazed, his sunglasses gone, is typing on his Game Boy, getting no response.
We can go in deeper, but we can't get out. Not without my key card.
So, we live here now. Rosie finds Sullivan looking at her curiously. Landlords, shithills, kicked my family out of 6 apartments. I got used to saying, so we live here now.
What?
Wesker. There are override exit, but I can't find them without this.
Wesker flings his Game Boy angrily against a wall. It shatters into bits.
That was a smart move.
Wesker bristles. He's about to confront Chris, but he spots his sunglasses where they were deposited on a floor grate by the water. He walks over and picks them up, wiping the lenses on his shirt. Without looking at Chris, he asks,
And you are?
Nobody. Just a local guy.
Chris spots a dry lab coat hanging on a wall hook. He takes it down and uses it to dry his rifle.
Who gets pissed off when he finds his farm animals and his father's oldest friend dead. And the only woman he ever cared about turns out to be a goddamn metalhead.
Wesker, while seeming to understand, still doesn't look up.
Valentine, who is this asshole?
His name is Chris Redfield. He was part of my cover, sir.
Cover?
A snappy argument develops. A lover's quarrel with higher than normal
Cut,
stakes.
cut. This
Under
is
the covers.
Cut. This is interesting. So Chris is not a STARS member in this read of the game or whatever in Romero's script, and so Jill's undercover.
Unless we
He was
find
under
out.
his covers.
Under his. Oh, hey, I like
Unless
it.
we find out Chris was like double undercover or something.
Yeah.
Undercover
All
lover.
right. So we'll find out. Let's-
Also, I wanted to ask you real quick.
Yeah.
Is the reason for the T virus in the game to have undead soldiers?
I mean, it was to get bioengineered weapons, which ended up being a lot of like enhanced animals and stuff. And I think the zombies were a byproduct of that. Like,
Okay.
But they don't ever really focus on trying to make weaponized like zombie soldiers at all.
Huh.
Yeah.
That seems like a better idea. I heard that. I was like, oh, it's actually a good idea.
Yeah. So we'll take it. We'll take it here from. So the snappy argument
Good
develops.
And guys, just for people who in the chat don't know what's happening, can you give a brief like synopsis of where we are?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are about almost halfway through the script.
We're on page 34.
Page 34 out of about 90, so about a third of the way.
Yeah.
And we are right now reading George Romero's rejected Resident Evil script. So we were supposed to be doing this for Extra Life a couple weeks back because we raised enough money, but I lost my voice during Extra Life. So we are making up for that now.
Plot-wise, where are we?
Plot-wise, we are in the mansion laboratory right now. They had to go deeper into the lab because everything just kept on getting worse and worse, basically.
Post sharks.
Yes, post-sharks. That was really the turning point. They understand the zombie situation. Night of the Living Dead exists in this world.
Yep.
And
Rodriguez, the most important character. We're living here now. This is our new home.
She's ready to
That's
set
right.
up shop here.
that's
She's
right.
used
All
to
right.
saying that.
Okay, and I've been Wesker and Barry and Sullivan at this point.
I'm playing Russo, Chris, LaGuardia, and Aiken.
I'm Jill, Rebecca, Speyer, and
Vickers.
Vickers,
sometimes.
I think. Yeah.
Okay, and so we're going to come back in here
Jill.
on Jill, just as this lover's quarrel
With higher than normal stakes.
kicks in here. So, and action.
This is not the time to mouth off, Chris. You're in deep shit here.
Why didn't you let me in on this?
Why'd you have to come after me? Why did you have to get in here anyway?
I used to play here when this was a fucking laundry room, and what makes you think I came after you?
Barry.
Whoa, look here.
Barry is stooped over the faceless zombie that Wesker shot. He rips an ID badge from the corpse's coat. He tosses it to Wesker, who reads the ID.
Is this the pile of shit we're supposed to bring out of here? It once was.
I got something here.
Brad has been quietly working at one of the lab's computers. Barry rushes over and looks at the monitor screen.
A map. Same as on your gizmo. Exits marked. Blue and green.
Wesker steps in for a look.
The greens are the overrides. Can you print this out, Brad?
I can try.
Chris calmly retrieves his wet shoulder bag from the floor. He wrings out the cloth and, using the lab coat, wipes the bullets dry.
Vickers. We're on level A.
We have to get down to level D. Barry. Hold on. Marcus is dead. If this mission was about bringing him out, we're out of here, right? Wesker. I wish we were, but no. We have a potential outbreak here. We might be the only ones who can stop it.
Spare. Stop it. How?
There's an antidote.
Everyone's ears perk.
We can't bring Marcus out, but we can bring out the serum. Maybe somebody can analyze it and figure out how to beat the virus.
Jill looks at Chris, catches him weighing options.
Jill, not simple.
Not complicated either. We only have to decide what's right and what's wrong.
I forgot. You're never confused. So, what's right, Mohawk? And what's wrong?
Vickers.
Oh, Vickers. Shit! At the computer. There are no green exits on this level. Why would that be?
They don't want anybody up here to go snooping, upstairs or down.
Wesker looks at Chris with that odd, confident smile.
Pretty good guess. You must have been in the military, son.
Native American, exempted.
Vickers. Oh, fuck! There's no way out!
Yes, there is.
Chris points at the broken grid above the shattered aquarium. Wesker looks up, then looks back at Chris.
Not a bad idea.
Oh.
Vickers, see if you can call up service charts, schematics.
Brad's fingers fly. He scrolls through menus.
Got it. Ceiling grids, ladders, the whole infrastructure.
Print it, all of it.
The young man grabs a command. Wesker rushes over to the HP and grabs the first chart that rolls out. Rebecca steps over to Brad. She points at his leg Seated at the computer, his trousers hiked, blood can be seen on his sock just above his boot.
Rebecca, what's that from?
Vickers.
I snagged it on the desk when we were scrambling. Rebecca, let me look at it. Vickers, no, it's just a scratch.
Chris watches Wesker as he studies the printed charts.
There's a part of an old laundry chute. It might not show on there. It runs up to the kitchen.
I'm not going up. I'm not going down.
Wait, what?
Well, you got to get up to get down.
Cut. We're gonna need you to take that line again, Tim.
Hold on. All right. Okay. Sorry. Hold on. I'm getting back into character here. Okay. I got it. All right.
Also, real quick, Reeves, when you have, just distinguish it for the voices. If you're going between Rebecca and Vickers, you don't need to restate the name every time. Just when they're introduced for like a segment, I think it'd be easier.
Okay.
Anyways, all right. Sorry. Action.
I got this
Wesker,
one.
you got it.
Okay. There's a part of an old laundry chute. It might not show on there. It runs up to the kitchen.
I'm not going up. I'm going down.
Wesker, grim face,
Makes way more sense.
look at his team.
I'd like to let you guys off the hook, but I can't. I need backup. You're coming with me. Any objections?
The troopers exchange glances. Jill is the first to speak.
No objections. We'll back you up.
You said people wind you up and you do whatever they want you to do.
Stay out of this, son. You're the only one who doesn't have a choice in this. There's no place to lock you up. I can't let you go. You're a security risk. I could shoot you legally. But your lady friend would probably get all over my ass, so I'm afraid you're coming with us, whether you like it or not. He's your responsibility, Valentine. See, he doesn't make trouble.
Jill looks at Chris.
You up to the challenge?
Try me.
I already have.
Whoa!
Interior, crawl space. One by one, the members of Alpha Team wiggle up into the crawl space above the ceiling. Chris climbs up behind Jill. Other troopers are already away, following Wesker, who guides them with the help of his chart. Jill starts after them. Chris grabs her arm.
Jill, I'm sorry. I'm just angry. When I thought you were gone, then when I saw you alive, I realized that.
That you were still fascinated?
Stop! Stop!
He pulls her into an embrace. She goes willingly.
Come with me. We can get out of here.
I want to. I want to. Nothing more. But I can't. When I'm in this uniform, I'm more than just me. Try to understand. There's no I in team, Chris.
There's no I in dead either.
Chris pulls away from the embrace and looks at her.
I should order you to come with me. You'd never refuse an order.
You go. You're not part of this.
I'm part of this as long as you are.
Barry, this is very uncomfortable.
Barry, having overheard, is halfway up to this grate.
For me too, brother.
I mean, this, indicating the iron that's pressing his belly. It's very uncomfortable.
Chris and Jill help Barry up into the crawl space, start off after the troop. The camera tracks them.
This is getting old, man. I swear, I've been in this army 18 years.
18 years?
Yep. 2 away with the big retie. Ready.
From the
From the big retie.
retie.
What is that?
Retirement.
Oh, 2 away. Oh, okay. All right. Can I read that again?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yep. 2 away from the big retie.
desk job, right? Nobody lasts that long if they've seen action.
I've seen action in Grenada and Desert Storm. Would have lost it all there if my buddy didn't bring in a team against orders to pull my ass out. A buddy named Wesker.
You've been with this asshole since?
Since before that, we were kids together. Macon, Georgia. He's only an asshole some of the time.
Up ahead, Wesker reaches a service ladder. He waves his troop on. They start to climb down.
Vickers. Who knows what we'll find down there?
Aiken. Think positive. The farthest down we go, the worse it's going to get. So until we hit bottom, we're in good shape, relatively speaking.
Growl. Distant but distinct. It sounds like the MGM lion.
Oh gosh, the MGM Lion's down there.
What the hell?
Spare.
What the fuck?
Again. Growl.
Vickers. Whatever it is, it can't get us. We're in the ceiling.
Maybe it's like really tall.
Sullivan, Aiken.
Interior, crawl space, lab, level B. The lead troopers reach another section of the ceiling. Clustering around a vent they look down into, the B-level lab. More streamlined, more high-tech than the one upstairs. There are large computers linked by metal shielded conduits to jacks in the wall.
Wesker. Mainframe. Might have some data we could use. Fox, Marini, Vickers, down.
Wesker kicks out the vent. He jumps first through the opening down into the lab. Chris watches from behind.
Man has balls, I'll say that.
Wesker grabs a desk and pushes it under the vent. Marini climbs down, followed by Fox. Brad is last.
Hustle it, Vickers. You're the guy we need to cut into the network.
Interior lab, level B. Wesker looks around. There are 3 doorways, open wide with only darkness beyond. Wesker runs around, closing them.
Watch the entrances, guys.
Fox and Marini take up posts. Brad lowers himself gingerly. He drops the last 2 feet onto the desk, landing on his bloody leg.
Ah, shit!
He topples, falling to the floor, but pops up instantly.
I'm all right. I'm all right.
He limps over and attacks the computer keys. Growl. Another
engine landing?
distant snarl.
Hold tight. It doesn't sound like it's on this level.
Shit. I'm locked out. Any clues for a password?
Try umbrella.
Brad types rapidly, nervously, flubs. Types again.
Nothing. Wait. I'm into... No data. Just some kind of video feed, time-coded yesterday. It's a playback. Oh, holy shit.
We hear it before we see it. The sounds of absolute panic. People shouting, screaming, thuds and crashes. Glass breaking, then a woman's voice.
Please, if anyone's receiving this.
Brad limps around the desk and spins the monitor for the others to see. The woman is an Oriental. She's standing in the foreground as Marcus was in the opening video. Behind her is the lab we haven't seen yet, with white-coated figures running, firing guns.
The situation is completely out of control.
Wham! The woman is pushed out of the way by a man who's trying to protect her from something that blurs past the lens, like a pendulum from above. In the next instant, splat. The lens is coated with blood. As it oozes down, we see a partial image of the same man. His head is out of the frame, at the top of the screen. The thing there must have had a hold on it, because the man is dangling, his arms twitching. His back has 3 gouges in it, long and so deep they might have been made by a piece of heavy machinery. We only see this for an instant before the man is lifted straight up with amazing speed. Wesker clicks off the monitor. The other men instinctively look up above their heads.
Fox.
Who's Fox?
Uh,
Has Fox spoken yet?
You got it? Yeah, this is a new character.
Maybe the ceiling's not such a safe place after all.
Crash! The door behind Fox bursts open. Before he has time to react, a zombie is on him, biting his cheek, neck, shoulder. The 2 figures fall to the floor, grappling. Wesker can't get a clean shot.
Scram! Scram!
Marini is the first to reach the desk, but he helps the limping Brad up ahead of him. 2 more zombies lurch in through the open doorway. Wesker shoots them, but he sees more. Can't tell how many, shambling toward the open doorway from the darkness beyond. Wesker focuses on Fox, who is still being mauled, bitten. Fox screams. Wesker still has no safe shot. Brad is yanked up into the ceiling by Sullivan and Aiken. Chris leans out of the opening, reaching for Marini. Wesker kicks the mauling zombie in the head. It takes 3 hard boots to attract the thing's attention. When it finally looks up at him, Wesker blows out its skull. Fox is laying on his stomach, writhing, bleeding profusely. From a half-dozen bites, Wesker stoops down, trying to roll him over. Lift him up.
Cut. Listen, really spirited, inspiring improvisation on the set here, but can you get the goats back by craft services, please, just for a little while? Thank you. Okay. And we're going to bring it back in here with
All
the
right.
exposition.
Half a dozen bites, Wesker stoops down, trying to roll him over, lift him up. Fox resists. He's gone insane. Chris pulls Marini up to safety. Barry leans down through the opening.
Haul ass, boss!
The zombies are heading for Wesker. There are 3 of them. Barry shoots at the one in front. Misses. His second shot hits the thing's brain. Wesker again tries to hoist Fox, who, this time, rolls over on his own. He has drawn his pistol. Before Wesker can stop him, he eats the barrel and blows out the back of his head. One zombie is dangerously close. Barry fires 2 more rounds. No headshot, but the zombie staggers and, though not dead, falls directly toward Wesker. The colonel rolls on his back, kicking himself away, managing to get clear. He uses his own pistol to blast the zombie. He scrambles to his feet, darts toward the desk, and jumps up. The 3rd zombie grabs his legs. From above, Barry risks a dangerous shot. Blam! Wesker hears the bullet whiz past his head like a mosquito. The zombie is hit in the skull. It drops. There are more of them coming out through the darkness. Barry takes hold of Wesker and, with a single strong arm, pulls him up into interior, crawl space, lab, level B. The crawl space, where Wesker breathes heavily for a moment, then looks up at his old friend.
That's 2, Iolia. 1, we were even Steven. 2, remember? Even Steven's not in my vocabulary.
A horrible moaning sound comes from below. In the lab, 3 more zombies can be seen clustering around the desk, dumbly trying to climb up, sensing the food above.
Let's move.
Wesker takes off. Speyer, Rodriguez, Aiken, and Sullivan are quick to follow. The others lag behind when Chris says,
Those things could get up here. We can't let that happen. This is our way out.
Chris swings his legs through the gate and jumps down. Interior lab, level B. Onto the desk. He boots one of the zombies away and tries to leap over the others. One of them catches his foot in midair. Chris isn't hurt, but he topples to the floor, sprawling, losing his Winchester. The zombies have him cornered. He crawls toward his rifle, reaches it, pumps a shell into the firing chamber, aims at the closest of the walking dead, which was once a young man, a simple laborer, wearing overalls with the name tag.
Caruso.
Chris looks empathetically into the thing's dead eyes.
Can you hear me?
The zombie lumbers forward hungrily.
Caruso, can you hear me?
Chris has come late to the realization that these things were once human.
Of course.
Now he comes late to the realization that they are human no longer.
Oh, no.
The zombie grabs the barrel of the Winchester, pushing it aside. Chris can't bring it back to bear on the monster's head. He blasts around through the thing's belly. It has no effect. The zombie reaches for Chris's throat, starts to lean in to bite him. Blam! The thing's skull explodes. Jill has jumped down onto the desk. She fires another accurate pistol round. The second zombie falls. Jill leaps to the floor and starts to push the desk. Chris gets to his feet, rushing in to help her. Together, they shove the desk out from under the open ceiling grate.
Thank you.
Anytime. How do we get back up?
Shit, if you didn't have a plan, you shouldn't have jumped down here.
We have a real problem here, Chris.
Jill nods toward the open doorway. There are more stuttering figures approaching out of the dark.
How big is this place? How many people were down here? How
do we get up?
With a startling sound, a dark shape swings down from and grabs Jill. Is it the thing we saw in the video? No. It's Barry. His mighty arms lift Jill. She's caught by Aiken and Sullivan and pull up to safety. Barry grabs Jill, or Chris, and lifts him up as well. Interior, crawl space, lab, level B. Chris grabs the edge of the grate and pulls himself up. He reaches back down to the opening. Below, Barry squats. He makes a mighty leap with his muscular legs. Chris grabs his arms and is nearly pulled back down.
Big, heavy.
Jill grabs on, then Sullivan, but one of the zombies has reached Barry. It grabs his kicking legs. Its teeth snap and catch. The commandos lift Barry clear, but the zombie ends up with a chunk of something in its mouth.
I got you.
cut? One more time.
Let's try that over again.
And action.
I got you.
Nope.
Cut.
Take a look there.
Read the-
You're halfway there.
Oh.
There we go.
All right, and Jill, we're gonna get back to it. And zombie has something in its mouth. And action.
It got I. Oh, sorry. No. Oh, gosh.
All right.
So hard.
one more try.
Yeah. It got you.
Barry checks his leg. His trousers are torn, but
No skin broken. I'm all right.
We owe you a pair of pants.
they crawl away.
I need one too.
The zombies below reach up, their fingers clutching at the ceiling. But with the desk gone, there's no way they can get up. Dissolve to interior storage area. The commandos climb down a steel access ladder into a storage room packed with crates and cartons. There's only one door. The place seems secure.
Stand down. 5 minutes.
Wesker sits on a crate and pulls out his printed charts. Gradually, the whole troop makes it down into the room. They relax. A few light cigarettes, but not Speyer.
I'm through, Wesker.
Me too, man. This ain't nothing I signed on for. I'm Marini.
You want to wait here? Fine.
Wait here? No, we're getting out.
You can't. Not without this.
Fuck you and your fancy doors and your green key. The choppers have rockets. They can blow a wall if they have to. I'm calling them in.
Speyer pulls out his radio and starts to punch a code.
You want to see a wall blow? I'll blow them all for you.
Wesker reaches down to the electronic unit that he lost and retrieved in the woods. He pulls a long wire out of it with a small sensor on the end.
I'll put a crater in this forest that takes out Raccoon City and everything else for 20 miles. With this.
He jams the little sensor into his ear and pushes a button on the belt unit. Small red lights blink.
It's a radio detonator to set off explosives that are buried underneath us somewhere. The ultimate containment measure. Incinerate the place. It has a dead man mechanism that reads my pulse. My heart stops and boom.
Chris, you lunatic! That damn thing can slip out of your ear by accident.
That's right. It's your job, all of your jobs, to see that it doesn't, and to see that my heart doesn't skip any beats.
Wesker looks over the tops of his sunglasses. It's Spare.
Give me the radio, soldier.
Spare hesitates.
Give me the fucking radio,
Wesker,
or we all go up.
shocked silence. Sullivan is the first to speak.
Oh, I'm Sullivan. Some bitch might do it, Spare. I'll be obliged to do it if I don't get that antidote. I'll have to burn this place out. Valentine, the radio.
Jill steps over to Spare and takes the radio from him.
Chris, what are you? This guy's flunky? He just threatened to blow us all up, for Christ's sake.
That's what I'm trying to prevent.
Oh.
Exterior, Arclay Forest, in the air. Whap, whap, whap. One Huey is in the air. The camera moves in on a window. LaGuardia is flying, his radio man beside him.
How many digits did you receive?
6. The beginning of the air support code, but it just went dead on me.
Call stars in Washington. I want to.
Hold it. The radio man presses his headset to his ear. LaGuardia looks on apprehensively. It's Wesker. Yes, sir. We got the radio signal, sir. He says it was a mistake.
Call Washington anyway. I want the authority to take action if necessary.
Interior office. Bring. The hand with the ostentatious ring snatches a red telephone receiver from the front of a desk drawer.
Holden.
He listens. Once again, we don't see his face, just his free hand with another Monte Cristo burning.
Denied. This is Wesker's show. Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Sorry.
this
It's the same guy.
It's all right.
It's listed as a different guy.
Now he's got a name. He's Holden now. All right, and
Hold on a Monte Cristo.
action. Denied. This is Wesker's show. If he's in real trouble, we'd have lost half of Pennsylvania by now.
As the hand flicks ash, we see a sheet of paper on the desk with a letterhead that bears an umbrella logo.
No authorization.
Exterior, Arclay Forest, in the air. In the Huey, the radio man clicks off an incoming call. No independent action.
Damn, I feel so fucking helpless.
The Huey overflies the mansion, which, from the air, looks as stable as the Rock of Gibraltar. Interior, storage area. Wesker has come down off his rampage. He looks exhausted. He also looks staunchly heroic as he speaks to his troop.
You guys were hand-picked, a special unit. Most of you have been sitting on your asses, drawing paychecks for more than 2 years. Well, it's time to repay those government loans.
Spare. Bullshit. I'm not.
Wesker lifts his automatic. Spare flinches. The action wasn't meant as a threat. Wesker's just checking his ammo.
Pitch your empties. Put all your loaded clips in the crate there. I want to count. Then I want rounds divvied up evenly.
The troopers deposit their loaded clips, reloading the ones that are half used.
All right, we're on level C.
Aiken, lingerie, notions.
God damn it, no more jokes. What? We have men dead upstairs. This hellhole is full of people who died because of this stinking bug.
Jill has been counting the ammo clips.
42. Spare. That's all we have?
We weren't expecting a war, Spare. To Jill. I'll take 3. 3 to your boyfriend.
Don't need 'em. Got my own loads.
Wesker's eyes dart angrily toward Chris, but he notices Jill watching him, and he calms himself.
Good. Then we all get 4 clips.
Spare. They must have weapons down there, somewhere. A powder magazine?
No more side trips. It was a mistake to go into that lab upstairs. My mistake. And I'm not making another one. From now on, it's straight ahead, in and out.
Wesker stands and opens the door. Outside is a service corridor with unfinished walls. Spaces between raw metal beams are stuffed with insulation. Wesker checks the jam outside. It's got a lock mechanism. Blue.
Not an override. My key won't work here on the way out. Prop the door.
The troopers drag a heavy crate over to hold the door open. Wesker moves out. The commandos trickle after him. Chris holds Jill behind for a moment.
Jill, this guy is a Looney Tune.
He's just trying to get the job done, doing what he has to do.
Yeah, well, I hope you'll say the same about me when I do what I have to do.
Chris turns and walks off. Jill follows him out into interior service corridor. The corridor. They catch up with the troop, which is clustered at a blind alley which has 2 doors.
Checking his map. It's not clear which way to go.
Want me to flip a coin? Wesker's annoyed by this remark. Decisively, he selects one of the doors and uses his green keycard. With the bzzz, the lock releases. The troop enters. Interior System Center. A vast room, 50 by 50 yards. It's filled with heaters, air conditioners, water pumps, mainframes for the internal computer network line one wall, fuse boxes and switcher panels another. This is the system center for the entire facility. There's an attendant's desk just inside the door. Aiken and Sullivan drag it over to prop the door open. It makes a frightening sound as it scrapes the floor, echoing, bouncing. All right, bouncing around in the large space, it prompts a response. Another of those animal-like snarls from somewhere in the distance.
Sullivan. What's that sound like to you?
A maid eater.
There are thick columns, floor to ceiling, every 10 feet. The spaces between them are very dark, hard to see. Wesker and some of the others click on their flashlights. Beams cut through the dust. Their electronic hums, clicks, and chatters emit from the switchers. Pings from the heaters, all combining to fray everyone's nerves. Light beams dance nervously as the commandos start out across the dark and frightening space.
This is the heart of the whole place, Jill. They've got to have it protected somehow.
2 things happen almost at once. First, Chris notices electric eyes on all the columns.
Duck! Hit the deck!
Second, a zombie lurches around a corner and bites a chunk out of Marini's face. Jill whirls around to shoot at the zombie, but Chris grabs her and flattens her on the floor. Marini, staggering, screaming in pain, triggers the first electric eye. Laser beams shoot in all directions, forming a tight net. Chris and Jill are barely beneath them. Many of the other troopers are hit by the beams, which do no immediate harm, but wherever they make contact, small cylinders above the electric eyes begin to hiss.
For Christ's sake, get down!
The commandos jump or duck under the laser beams just in time. Jets of steam spout from the cylinders. It's not just hot steam. It's acidic, deadly. Marini's hit by it. His clothes ignite. His flesh boils. It's a horrible sight. But for the moment, the jets stop. Marini's dead on his feet. When he falls, he trips another one of the laser beams. The steam jets spout again. The troop is beneath them, though they're burned by liquid drops that spit from the nozzles. Amazingly, the zombies avoided contact. But as it begins to stumble after commandos, we realize it's going to activate the sensors again.
Sullivan. There's no way out of this mousetrap.
Rodriguez. So we live here now?
Spare. We gotta run for it!
The zombie hits one of the laser beams. The steam hisses, but again. Or hisses out again, rather. The zombie is melted.
Aiken. Bad idea, Spire.
Chris.
Down through these.
Chris has noticed a series of hinged panels in the floor.
Vickers, where do they go?
Sullivan. Does it matter?
Sullivan whips out a Swiss Army knife and goes to work on the screws that hold down one of the panels. Other troopers do the same. Another zombie lurches out of the darkness. And another. Human hands work furiously, loosening screws. Panels come up. Troopers begin to duck through the openings. A second zombie hits a red beam. Steam again. Chris and Jill are spattered, burned. But Jill bravely keeps working with her own issued knife. She gets a panel open. As she drops through, a third zombie triggers a burst of steam. Chris ducks and covers. But when the jets stop, Chris begins to climb into the opening. But one of his legs is grabbed from behind by one of the dead things, which has already been melted. Its flesh is bubbling. Bone is beginning to show, but the acid hasn't reached its brain yet. The creature is still alive. Chris cries out. Acid from the zombie's hands is burning his leg. The thing's lips have been eaten away, making its teeth look frighteningly skeletal as it leans forward for a bite of flesh. Chris jams the stock of his Winchester into the zombie's mouth. He's able to hold the thing's head back, but he's stuck. He can't let go. Jill pops out of the floor. She presses the barrel of her own weapon into the zombie's forehead.
On 3.
1, 2.
Chris pulls his rifle away. At the same instant, Jill fires. The zombie is propelled through the air. One of its flailing arms triggers another laser beam. Chris throws himself into the top of Jill as steam hisses over them. 20 yards away, Wesker crawls under the cloud of acid. Just as he climbs through one of the openings, he feels pressure. on his ear. A groping zombie has accidentally hooked its fingers onto the wire that runs from the detonator to Wesker's earpiece. For a breathless moment, it seems like the sensor will be popped loose. Holding the pulse reader in place, Wesker twists his body, lifts his handgun, and pumps 3 into the dead thing's brain. The zombie flops over, but its fingers cling entangled into the wire. Wesker plants his pistol barrel on the knuckles of the thing's dead hand. 3 more shots cut through bone, removing fingers from the hand. The wire is freed. Wesker dives into the opening of the floor. Interior air duct. The commandos find themselves in an air duct. No room to stand, hardly room to sit. Chris looks at his rifle stock. It's corroded from the acid in the zombie's mouth. Jill notices.
God. And it doesn't even stop them.
It's not meant to stop them. It's meant to stop something else.
That distant snarling sound comes again, making Jill shiver. The troop is strung out along the metal shaft. Rebecca crawls among them, treating the worst burns. Wesker checks his maps. Speyer confronts him again.
We damn near got turned into Rice Krispies by those gizmos of yours. If you don't want me to nail that fucking thing to your ear, you deactivate it right now.
I can't. They fixed it, so you can't chicken out. The system can only be turned off the main panel. Barry, where the hell is that? Wesker. Where the explosives are. Down. Farther than we need to go. We only have to make it down one more level. When we make it back up to the choppers, we can fly out of the detonator's signal range.
Chris calls out from the far end of the shaft.
I'm not willing to rely on that. I live here. This is my town.
The town's been evacuated, just in case.
That explains the lie about the plane crash. An airplane down without weapons on board would nicely explain a big explosion, wouldn't it? You figured all along you might have to blow this place.
I don't want to do it. I hope I don't have to.
Chris looks down the dim air shafts, unable to see Wesker's eyes, hidden by distance and by his dark glasses.
That's the best I can do for you, kid. Good faith. Now, let's knock on it.
Wesker moves out. The troop follows.
I can't let this happen. I've got to find that bomb.
Jill, I'll help. Once Wesker gets what he wants, my obligation is over.
Chris looks at her with appreciative eyes.
No, I want you out with the rest of them. Wesker won't push the button until you're clear.
He doesn't want to push the button.
He has to, don't you see? He can't leave these labs here. And Jesus, walking corpses! He's got to get rid of all the evidence.
Interior air shaft. The light is dim at its best. Long stretches of the shaft are pitch black, and there's a constant stream of air that moans eerily. This whole mission has been like a descent into hell, darker and more frightening with each level down. There are turnoffs, T's and Y's. At one point, when Jill looks back, she finds Rosie behind her. Chris is gone. Did he have to deal with the bomb? No, but he's about to.
Okay.
He's at the rear of the pack, pressed against the sidewall, waving others past.
Chris, no!
I've got to try and stop this.
Jill starts back toward Chris, but freezes. Everyone freezes when the ductwork starts to ping. Rodriguez. Shit. One thing after another. Boom! The air shaft is rocked as if punched by a giant fist. Then the whole structure begins to shimmy. What is it? An earthquake?
Sit tight. Ride it out.
Gronk. A sheet metal panel buckles. Others do the same. All along the shaft, panels begin to fold inward. Something outside is crushing the duct as if it were a giant tube of toothpaste. And the troopers are being squeezed inside. Rivets pop. The panels begin to separate, and large pulsing bits of flesh appear. Not animal flesh, but the flesh of a plant. The things that press in through the openings are larger versions of the vines we saw in the kitchen.
No.
Those were its fingertips. These are its arms. Strong arms that are ripping the ductwork apart. Chris, Rebecca, Aiken, and Sullivan end up in part of the shaft. The rest in another, including Jill, who calls out.
Chris!
The section that holds Chris's group falls away with a monstrous crunching sound. Interior Arboretum. Chris's group spills out of the dangling metal with cables from the torn ceiling sparking around them. The troopers drop out of hell into paradise? An enormous hothouse, a lush indoor jungle of plants, ivies, grasses. It's like a rainforest, complete with a thick, damp mist that makes it difficult to see. We might be on another planet. None of the foliage seems indigenous to Earth. There are leaves the size of bed sheets, flowers the size of armchairs, and at the center of it all is the mother of the deadly vines. Plant 42, a monstrous schefflera 20 times normal size. Most of its limbs reach upward, where they have open cracks in the ceilings and walls to stretch on into the facility above. There are also dozens of shorter, beefier arms, each of which act independently like tentacles on an octopus, and each has a large drooling pod on its tip. Interior runway. Bursts of gunfire from 3 M16s shatter our ears, and in a ceiling vent, Wesker and the others jump down into a very unusual corridor. It seems to stretch forever in both directions. It has no doors, no visible means of exit or entry. The walls are made up of multicolored polymer tiles whose irregular shapes fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. The floor is heavy steel, though faceted. It seems designed to shift. The whole corridor looks like it might be able to bend to change position like an airport jetway. There are disconcerting signs of damage. Claw-like gouges on the tiles, clean-cut holes punched through the metal ceiling, larger in diameter than any might have been caused by bullets. And there are smears of blood everywhere, as if some terrible battle, or battles, took place here.
This way.
No, not that way. Chris and the others.
If they're dead, they're dead. If they're alive, they'll still be alive in 20 minutes when we get back.
Maybe not. And how do we know it's only going to be 20 minutes? How do we know we'll be able to come back this way?
We don't, but we'll do our damnedest to try. This is it, guys. The home stretch. Let's go.
Wesker trots off. Vickers and Rodriguez follow. Speyer and Barry hang back, with Jill, who remains torn.
Valentine, you're on the clock. Fall in.
Jill wrestles with her emotions, but in the end, dutifully, she falls in. As the troopers move off, we hear odd scratching sounds, with the high-pitched squeal of metal on metal. Interior Arboretum. The beefy arms of Plant 42 undulate overhead as Chris and his companions look for an exit. Rebecca.
This thing was no accident. It was cultivated.
And it didn't rip out the ceiling for the fun of it. Stay alert.
The plant seems to behave intelligently with caution. The pods on its arms dart, almost as if sniffing, then pull back like the vines in the kitchen, like timid animals. Chris spots a doorway.
Here.
As the others follow him, one of the pods swoops down in front of Rebecca and doesn't withdraw. It hovers there, its follicles open like jaws, which display serrated daggers of cartilage that look like teeth. Inside, a pulsing calyx emits a pistol that twitches and swells.
Aiken. My mother made me eat vegetables. I know them all. This ain't one of them.
Sullivan. Aiken.
Another pod swoops down on Sullivan's back. Its beak clamps onto the flesh between his shoulder blades. Its pistol shoots out like a hypodermic needle, stabs him, and within the blink of an eye sucks out every ounce of the man's blood. His skin turns the color of parchment, flaking off him like powder as he dies.
Sullivan! Jesus, Sullivan!
Aiken rushes to his buddy's side.
Chris, get out of the way.
Chris launches himself off a stone retaining wall around one of the gardens. Leaping up, he grabs one of the sparking conduits and pulls it down.
Get out of there, Aiken!
Chris ends up having to shoulder Aiken out of the way. Tendrils from the plant very nearly get both of them, but Chris manages to jam the semi-rigid conduit into a pool of sprinkler-fed water around the plant's roots. A bright current stutters through every vine. The plant shrieks hideously as electricity causes fluids to squirt from boils that develop on its flesh, down along its arms, and into its blood-sucking pods, which flop, lifeless, to the floor, with the same sort of liquid smacks that human skulls might make.
Aiken. They killed Sullivan! The bastards! Whoever did this shit, they killed Sullivan!
Enraged, Aiken pulls a long-bladed knife and wildly attacks the remains of Plant 42, slashing at the thing's dead limbs, not stopping until he cuts into something that looks like a vine but bleeds red. Aiken traces the thing with his eyes up to where it's coiled in high tree branches. It's the oversized body of a copperhead with the belly 6 feet in diameter. As Aiken gasps, spellbound, he's struck from behind. The snake is so long, its body is draped on one side of the greenhouse, but its head is on the other, with the power of a dozer shovel, jaws like the open hood of a Cadillac, teeth the size of windows, clamp onto Aiken's midsection, instantly crushing his ribs. Chris finds a skein of rope. He throws the long end over a ceiling beam, then instantly makes a lasso out of the piece in his hand and tosses the loop of the snake's head. Aiken's body, in the serpent's jaw, makes the rope miss. Chris throws again. In the seconds between tosses, the snake has slurped Aiken into its mouth. The rope encircles the beast's head. Chris pulls. The noose slips down over the beast's maxillaries and tightens around its neck. Chris uses all his strength. With the ceiling beam as a pulley, the snake's head is snapped against the rafters.
Rebecca, hold this!
Rebecca is, understandably, not quick to respond.
Get in here, soldier!
In this crisis, Chris finds himself sounding a lot like Wesker. It sobers him. It sobers Rebecca as well. She rushes in and takes hold of the rope. Moving fast, Chris rushes to where Aiken's knife dropped on the floor. He grabs it, turns back, and sees something moving inside the snake's beaded torso. It's Aiken, still alive. Something moving. No, Chris charges, plunging the knife through the beast, hacking through the layers of fat until he reaches a bloody cavity. Aiken is curled within like Jonah in the whale. His chest has been crushed to half its normal size. Acids from the monster's intestines have begun to eat through the flesh on his hands, his face, but he's still conscious, able to wheeze out words.
Kill me. Sullivan said I'd be better off dead. That ain't never been truer than now. Kill me.
The snake uses all of its strength to lower its head from the ceiling. Rebecca hangs bravely onto the rope, but she's lifted bodily off the floor. The rope snaps, cut by the steel beam. Rebecca falls. The trailing edge of the noose catches on twisted debris. It delays the snake for 2 seconds. Those fragile seconds give Chris just enough time to reach under the open belly of the monster and pull the pins on 2 grenades that dangle from Aiken's chest. The giant copperhead snaps at Chris from behind, missing him by inches. He dives like a wide receiver searching for a pass. What he catches is Rebecca's arm. His momentum carries her down to the floor. They roll behind another stone wall that contains tons of earth, which protects them from Boo Boom. Boo Boom. The explosion of the grenades, which blow Aiken and yards of the snake's midsection into eternity.
Thank you.
Interior conference room. The same nervous hands we saw in the opening fidget on the polished surface of the conference table. A distorted voice scratches over the speakerphone. Voice on the phone.
We're close. I think I'll be able to get the package. It's been very interesting.
Voice in the room.
Anything you can't handle?
Voice on the phone.
There's nothing I can't handle.
A hand with an ostentatious ring flicks cigar ash.
Keep us appraised. Keep us appraised. I've never heard that. Keep
Hold-
us appraised.
Holden's hand clicks off the speakerphone.
I'm reassured, gentlemen, that everything is under control.
Interior runway. Wesker, alone in the strange, faceted corridor, packs away his radio. He hears footsteps. Jill appears.
Where are the others?
Right behind me. Where were you? Talking to somebody?
To Washington, my supervisors. They're your supervisors too, Valentine. Don't forget that.
Oh, is that
Jill
how that works?
wonders. Should she challenge Wesker? She has no time to think. More footsteps come clacking at her back. It's Rodriguez and Speyer. From a moment later, Barry and Vickers appear at the opposite direction.
Barry. Nothing, man. No doors, nothing. We hit a dead end.
Spare. Us too. Cement wall.
Vickers.
Oh, Vickers. We're never going to get out of that, get to that lab.
Chung, chung, chung. A sound like a rivet gun resounds in the corridor, repetitive but random, not rhythmic. Interior, electric tunnel. Chris and Rebecca are crawling through a 2-foot-high feeder passage for electric cables, their bellies scraping the floor, their backs to the ceiling. They hear the sound, chung,
Chung, chung,
chung.
chung.
Suddenly, it stops.
I can't take this anymore.
We take what comes. That's the secret of our genius.
He looks back. Rebecca sniffles.
How old are you?
Not very old at all.
Oh,
Not nearly old enough to.
none of us is old enough for that.
Rebecca nods, forcing a smile meant to be appreciative.
Jill told me you were nice.
She did? She never told me.
That sound returns,
Chung, chung,
getting louder.
chung, chung, chung.
Interior runway. Down in the corridor, the other troopers see, faintly in the dusty reaches of the dark, agile shapes advancing, not along the floor, but along the ceiling. They look like apes, swinging from... What could they be swinging from? The ceiling is solid metal. Close on, a monstrous hand, both hairy and scaly. Its fingers have 10-inch claws, more like horns,
Oh.
which punch upward, penetrating the ceiling metal and clamping on. The shot widens to reveal a beast unlike any we've seen, dangling from the ceiling. It is ape-like and lizard-like. With ferocious eyes that glare from beneath an insect-like carapace. The thing is an amalgam of all the nasty creatures that have pursued us in our nightmares. It's called a hunter. There are 6 of them as far as we can see. There might be more coming from behind. Their three-toed feet also have claws that can pierce the ceiling, enabling them to move forward, hand over foot, foot over hand. One of them lets out a growl, the same sound we've been hearing through the walls. Now it echoes in the corridor, up close and personal. The troopers open fire, even before the creatures get in range. Interior, electric tunnel. Chris and Rebecca hear the gunfire.
Hurry.
Chris crawls on. Rebecca is stopped when, chong, it's one of the hunter's claws, punches up through the floor, almost stabbing her. Rebecca screams. In the tight space, Chris is barely able to reach back and take her hand. Chong, chong, chong. More claws penetrate the metal. The couple plunge ahead of them. The way that Chris plunged ahead of the bullets on level A. Interior, runway. Wesker, Jill, and the others spit lead at the advancing creatures. Bullets thunk into their bodies. Blood flows, but the creatures seem to feel no pain, even when they're hit squarely in their skulls.
Barry. Headshots. Ain't doing nothing. Wesker. That was the idea. Barry. What idea? Wesker. To win. The idea was to win.
Jill aims at one of the hunters, pressing the trigger of her M16 and not letting go until her clip runs out. The creature's head is turned ragged by the barrage, revealing an iron superstructure beneath the skin.
Now that is a metalhead.
Jill looks up. Chris jumps out of the open grate in the ceiling. Rebecca jumps down after him.
What do you think? Should I wait for orders or just wing it?
Wing it!
You know, that thing might be the ticket. Wing the fuckers.
Chris takes a careful shot with his Winchester. He hits one of the hunters squarely on its wrist, which snaps. The creature drops to the floor.
Oh, forget the headshots. They're useless. Shoot for the joints. The joints!
Rebecca opens fire with Aiken's M16, giving the others time to reload. Barry is the first to resume firing at the closest of the hunters, at its wrists, which are snapped by the bullets. The creature drops to the floor. The troopers fire at knees, ankles, elbows, which seem to be the weakest spots. More of the hunters drop from the ceiling, but they continue to advance, crawling, pushing themselves forward with whatever limbs remain intact.
Spare. Run! We'll slow him down! Run!
Barry. Where? As far as we'll get. Either way is a cement wall.
There are 2 hunters left on the ceiling. One of them makes a mighty, impossible lunge and hits Speyer like a battering ram, slashing his chest open with its claws. 2 of the hunters on the floor rush forward, not attacking, but wanting to feed on Speyer's remains. Brad, trembling, completely crazed, drops his weapon and backs away. He sees one of those jigsaw tiles, a red one, glow from within. He thinks he's hallucinating until the floor jerks. In a tight spasm, its steel facets begin to separate, sliding away from each other. The troopers narrowly escape as the floor behind them grinds in and out, left and right, as if it were chewing. Click, click. Speyer's body and those of the hunters on the floor are eaten by the powerful steel blades. But one hunter remains above it all. It continues to advance on the ceiling. An invisible jigsaw door glides open 20 yards down the hall. The troopers run for it and are met by a beautiful Asian scientist, the woman we saw in the video playback, Ada Wong.
You lost a man. If I had only been faster, I was unfamiliar with the mechanism.
Chung, chung. The hunter approaches.
God, one of them is still quickly. Get inside.
The troopers rush into interior cubicle, a security cubicle. Chris is the last to enter, barely making it before the door begins to slide shut.
Ka-chink.
Claws penetrate the opening.
Ka-chink, ka-chink. Don't worry. It's mindless. It doesn't realize that it's strong enough to push the door open.
Barry. Sometimes the dumb get lucky.
Rodriguez. Hasn't happened to me yet. The monster growls. Its snout darkens the space between door and wall. Mucus from its nostrils spits through. After a terrifying moment, the claw recedes. The dark snout disappears. The snorting fades away, followed by a distant tung, tung, tung as the hunter departs. Everyone relaxes visibly. The troopers turn and for the first time notice 2 haggard scientists standing across the room.
My colleagues, Benjamin, Toshiro. As far as we know, we're the only ones left alive. We worked on sea level. One of the biologists saved us, brought us down here. We knew that he didn't have long to live. He started the mechanism out there in the corridor, and he let it take him.
Ada stares at a complicated control panel.
I only saw it used that one time, or perhaps I could have been faster. The man you lost.
Rodriguez. You did fine, lady. We're obliged.
As we are. Oh. As are we. We believed we would die here. Believed the bomb would destroy us. We thought we lived here now.
Jill.
Oh, Jill. You knew about the bomb? Ada. As for the place like this, when it fails, must be a bomb, yes.
Let's try that one again.
Yeah, one more time, cut, and then
Speaking of winging it.
Ada,
Ada.
the end for a place like this, action.
Ada. The end for a place like this, when it fails, must be a bomb, yes?
Jill looks at Chris. His point has been proven.
But now that you're here, the bomb will not come.
It already came, ma'am. We brought it here. The colonel here. He's wearing it.
Ada looks at the detonator on Wesker's belt at the sequence of blinking lights.
Is it true? Are you here to rescue or destroy?
Both.
With that odd smile of his.
If I had to pick only one, I'll pick destroy.
You're not Stars. You're Umbrella.
Once again, both. 2 salaries. 3 if you count combat pay.
Ada looks at him with disgust.
The man I loved, John Marcus, developed the organism that caused all of this. He did it for humanitarian purposes. It was taken away from him for inhuman purposes by men like you.
No, ma'am. Men like me are just errand boys, sent in to do the wet work. All the glory, none of the benefits.
After what I've seen down here, do you think any of it could be turned into benefit?
Yes. I think it could be turned into $5 or $10 million. How do we get into D-Lab?
Death Lab? She slumps. John was killed, never even knowing it existed. They kept him isolated upstairs while a separate team was down here, corrupting his research, using it to build BOWs.
BOWs?
Bioorganic weapons. Rebecca. The sharks. The plant. Ada. Early experiments.
The snake.
A failure. Its behavior remained reptilian. All they could ever get it to do was grow in size.
Rodriguez. Those dogs. They were weapons.
No. They simply became infected, as did everyone else. Janitors, the cook, electricians, guards, people who believed they were serving their flag. Scientists, great minds, turned into mindless ghouls.
Before the outbreak, the experiments went further, didn't they? Those ceiling crawlers out there.
The product of human DNA spliced with the DNA of vicious carnivores. Animals, even insects, planted with armor beneath newly cultivated skin, then injected with a poison so their biological components would die.
Jill.
Die? The T-virus
Now Ada again.
the T-viruses reactivates them in the matter... Oh, God. Ada, get it together, man. Woman. The T-virus reactivates them in a matter of minutes. But in battle, lost minutes are inconvenient. So the BOWs had to die and be allowed to revive before they could be used to full advantage. They were murdered by their own people so they could never be murdered again by the enemy.
Were any of these weapons developed?
Ada is about to answer, but Wesker interrupts.
How do we get into D-Lab?
You don't.
Ada glances at an innocuous wall panel. Wesker notices a key slot. Green.
It can't be opened, thank God. None of us is cleared for that level of security.
How fortunate that I am.
Wesker steps over to the wall and inserts his green card into the slot. The panel slides open. Beyond it is a steel door with another green slot. Wesker uses his card again. A lock clicks. Wesker pushes the door open.
Barry, come with me. The rest of you, make sure this door doesn't close. Remember.
Wesker taps his earpiece. Everyone gets his meaning. He and Wesker disappear, or he and Barry disappear through the opening. The steel door begins to close. Rodriguez lunges and catches it.
Have you been leaving doors open?
Jill.
Yes. This place is going to be overrun by... Rebecca. Brad's in really bad shape.
Brad is leaning against a wall, sweating, shivering. Rebecca looks at his wounded leg.
That's not just a scrape. You were bitten, weren't you?
Vickers.
One of the sharks. Its teeth. I just brushed up against its teeth after it was dead.
Why?
Ada.
Shoot him. Somebody shoot him.
Jill.
No, we're so close. The antidote.
Interior stairwell. Wesker and Barry trot down a flight of metal stairs.
Barry, what's got into you, man? This isn't like you. Oh, yes, this is exactly like me.
Until now, Wesker has been steadfast. He suddenly seems nervous, anxious. Some of it is fear. Most of it is anticipation of the goal, which is suddenly within reach.
This is what I've been all my life. A guy sucking up to the honchos, wiping the shit off their asses, all the while looking for a break. A way to get some of my own. Well, this is it, friend. I'm myself, all right. And I know exactly what I'm doing. I told you, before this day was over, I'd pay you back.
Interior cubicle. Chris and Jill step past Rodriguez. They take off down the stairs. As they leave, Ada opens a desk drawer and pulls out a 45. Rodriguez, you know how to use that thing, chica?
Of course I do. I'm a scientist.
Ada clicks back the bolt, whips up the 45, and aims it at Brad's head. Rebecca dives in front of the man.
No, you can't. Not while there's still a chance to save him.
Interior safety chamber. D-Lab. Wesker and Barry arrive at a set of plexiglass doors. They can't see through them. They're fogged. Wesker finds a key slot, inserts his access card, and whoosh! The doors open. A cloud of hyper-cold mist rushes out, instantly coating the men in frost. Wesker doesn't feel the cold. He doesn't feel anything except a surge of triumph. He steps through the opening into Interior D-Lab, a laboratory that looks nothing like the cockpit of the laboratory that looks like the cockpit of the Concorde, only 100 times larger. Nothing is recognizable except for the desks that hold futuristic-looking computers. A befuddling array of buttons, switches, stuttering lights covers every inch of wall space. And at the center of it all stands a tall cylindrical tank, a stasis tube filled with ice. It's mounted on a 6-foot-tall platform like an altar, with cables and flexible tubes running out of it. Wesker squints, and through the freeze sees the thing that stands sedated within the cylinder. The Tyrant. It's 9 feet tall like the Hunters. It has more or less human form, though its musculature is more defined than Superman's. One of its arms is scaled to size, but the other is much longer. Its hand dangles at knee level. Monstrous steel claws descend from its fingers, nearly touching the floor.
It's called the Tyrant. Nobody knows it exists except us and Holden. Holden? Umbrella's man in D.C. We need him. He signs the checks. We've got it, Barry. Our fortune. You're not going to try to get this big mother out of here. Don't have to. All we need is the data. Then these things can be cranked out in an assembly line.
Laying down his automatic, Wesker hits computer keys until a disk pops out of a master feed.
Yes, this is it. What about the antidote? Antidote? There is no antidote. That was just happy horse shit to keep the team going.
Neither man notices that the removal of the master disk has caused certain systems to fail, indicated by red lights and by the fact that the walls of the Tyrant's cylinder are beginning to run liquid sweat. The ice is melting.
You're gonna give this to Umbrella? No, I'm gonna sell it to them. Then I'm gonna open a Swiss bank account right next to yours.
Jill.
Off screen. God damn!
Jill has appeared in the doorway with Chris. They both look at the monster with awe and terror.
That thing can't be real.
It's real, all right, and it's worth more than gold, more than uranium.
Rodriguez. Do we get a piece of that action? Rosie has arrived. So have Rebecca, Ada, and the 2 surviving scientists.
All of you do. Wait, all of you do what? Oh, piece
All
of the
you can be a
action.
piece of
Okay.
action.
All of you do. Anyone who comes out of this alive gets a taste.
Rodriguez. I'm in. I've been eating shit all my life. I'm happy to eat some more as long as it's got some good gravy on it. Rosie steps into the lab, her weapon ready.
Anybody else see it my way?
One of the scientists, Toshiro, refuses to join.
Rushes.
You disgrace yourself?
I want to live.
Toshiro. Oh, you did it. All right.
Wesker.
That's Wester's turn.
Smart. Anybody else? Valentine?
Jill looks at Chris. Then she steps through the doorway and takes a defensive post beside her CO.
Chris.
And I was just going to try to disarm the bomb. This place should be destroyed. It needs to be destroyed.
Chris lifts his rifle. Wesker is faster with his pistol, aiming it at Chris's belly.
Oh, gosh.
Gotcha, son. It's only because of Valentine here that I didn't squeeze the trigger.
Chris and Jill exchange dagger eyes.
If she's on your side, she doesn't mean shit to me, and I don't mean shit to her.
Chris, please. There's only one way to go here.
That's right. My way.
Yes, sir. Your way.
Jill presses in close to Wesker as if completely allied.
I can't tell you, Chris, how much I wanted things to have turned out differently. Sorry. Goodbye.
Swiftly, unexpectedly, Jill snatches the detonator wire and pulls the sensor out of Wesker's ear. Everyone shuts their eyes, expecting to be blown sky high. Nothing happens. Jill pulls the detonator off Wesker's belt. She stares small LED screen which reads 14 hours, 42 minutes, 16, 15, 14. Jill.
Shit. I got all my courage up, and we still have 15 minutes.
Okay, I may have miscalculated the time. Jill tosses the detonator to Chris. Wesker turns on her, lifting his M16.
Barry, you shoot, I shoot, boss.
Wesker turns to find Barry's weapon aiming at his belly.
Shit. Here I am still calling you boss.
Wesker is holding the data disk. Suddenly, he feels it snatched away by Ada, who has rushed into the room. He aims his weapon at her back as she darts away. Before he can fire, he's kicked in the head by Jill. Buckling, dazed, he looks up at her.
I believed in you. I believed in you. Boy, I was a sucker.
I believed in you. We believed in you.
Oh, we believed in you. All right, let's take that again.
She kicks him again, just for the hell of it.
Kaka.
He flops on the floor, his eye socket swollen. He's dropped his gun. He gropes for it. Barry steps in and boots it away. A klaxon sounds. Emergency! The ice in the tyrant's tank has melted down to a critical level. The monster is beginning to move. Reaching the doorway, Ada hears the mechanism trip in the jam. The plexiglass doors begin to slide shut. Ada strains to hold them back.
Get out now, or you never will.
Rodriguez. So, you'll live here? No. The landlord looks like a son of a bitch. Rosie rushes in to help Ada hold the doors. So does Benjamin, the second of the surviving scientists, who is mauled from behind by a zombie. It's not just any zombie, it's Brad Vickers, back from death, who bites out of the artery at Benjamin's neck. Ada.
I told you to shoot him.
Ada lifts her .45 and blows Vickers away. She looks down at Benjamin, writhing on the floor, aims at his head, and fires again. Rodriguez is the only one holding the doors. Jill rushes to help her.
Everybody, out!
13 minutes!
Inside the lab, Barry turns to Toshiro, the other scientist.
Go.
Toshiro hesitates. A second too long. Crash! The stasis tube bursts open. Water and bits of ice fly out along with an enormous bionic hand, big enough to grab Toshiro's hand as if it were a cantaloupe. Powerful enough to crush that head as if it were, well, a cantaloupe. What? Wesker, still searching for his pistol, sees all of this. The tyrant is not completely free. Much of the cylinder wall is cracked away, but sections of it cling to a now misshapen mass of ice that still holds the monster bound, though it won't for much longer. Wesker starts toward the door. Barry grabs the back of his shirt and pitches him across the lab.
Barry, you and me, we ain't going nowhere. Not just now, boss.
Barry turns to the others clustered at the doorway.
This thing gets loose, it's gonna be pissed. Somebody's gotta hold it back. Give you guys a fair chance.
Look out!
Wesker has found his pistol. He fires at Barry, who, ducking, is only grazed. Wesker aims at the group in the doorway. Barry pops out from behind a desk and shoots back at him. Ada and Rebecca duck away from the doors, pulling Rodriguez and a reluctant Jill after them. The doors begin to slide closed. Chris valiantly tries to keep them from shutting. Wesker crawls like a dog. He manages to fling an arm through the opening. Steel bumpers press on the meat of his forearms. Wesker looks up through the plexiglass. His eyes meet Chris.
Get me out of here, Redfield, or so help me God, you're a dead man.
With his free hand, Wesker aims his pistol at Chris. The gun barrel is an intimidating sight, even though it's on the other side of the plexi. Chris glances at the others.
Get going!
Not without.
Move!
Ada, Rebecca, Rodriguez wrestle Jill away bodily and start up the metal stairway.
Come back, Rodriguez, Valentine, that's an order.
Orders don't mean shit anymore, Wesker, especially when they come from sellout bastards like you.
Chris lets go. The doors squeeze tighter. Wesker screams. Through the plexi, Chris catches a glimpse of Barry, who stands and gives him a military salute. Chris salutes back. Blam, blam, blam. Wesker fires 3 rounds. Dusty blemishes appear on the bulletproof glass. The slugs ricochet back into the lab. One of them chips away at the ice, which is less and less able to contain the tyrant. Chris makes a break for the stairs. Wesker twists his body in an attempt to push his pistol through the opening, but his fist around the stock is too thick. Nonetheless, Wesker fires. Blam, blam, blam. Bullets scream off the banister rails, but none of them contact Chris's legs, which disappear up the stairs. The ice in the stasis tube is turning to slush. The tyrant is about to break loose. Wesker looks pleadingly at Barry.
Buddy, you gotta get us out. Barry. Not sure I know how, boss. Do you? Is there some other need-to-know secret you're shutting down the big bopper here? No, it can't be shut down. The ultimate warrior, the ultimate soldier. We'll see. How does it do against a couple of hard-ass career guys like you and me?
Wesker swings his free arm and aims his pistol at Barry. Click. The gun is empty. Interior, cubicle. The escapees arrive in the security cubicle. Ada.
The corridor outside can be moved.
Ada rushes over to the instrument panel. Her hands go to work on an array of buttons and switches. Interior runway. The multifaceted corridor twists into a new configuration with the rumble of an 8 on the Richter.
You won't come out in the same place, but you'll find a freight loader that can be accessed with a blue keycard, I hope. Ada. No. Pot blue or green. Red.
Probably not.
Probably means not blue. No. Not blue or green. Red.
Ada pulls a red key from under her lab coat, snaps the chain on her neck, and holds it out to Chris.
I took it from an umbrella agent assigned to us here. He died, like all the rest.
Red overrides green.
Yes.
So you could have unlocked D-Lab?
I was hoping it would never be unlocked again. Go. I'll see that this, she holds up the data disk, is destroyed.
Chris grabs Ada's arm and holds it tight while he wrenches the disc away from her. He folds it over onto itself, drops it onto the floor, and pumps 3 Winchester rounds into it.
Bang, bang, bang. It's destroyed. It's worthless, but you're not.
I helped develop it.
Unwittingly, they lied to you. They lied to Marcus. They made you believe you were doing a good thing when it wasn't good at all. It was evil.
Ada looks deeply into Chris's eyes.
The kind of evil that resides in all of us. Makes us greedy, uncaring. The kind of evil that will wipe us out in the end unless we stand up against it.
Stand up? Against powers that have ruled the world since before that we were born? Will only be eliminated or locked away someplace else. I'd rather die here, knowing that the virus has died with me.
Jill takes a step toward Ada. Jill.
What if it's already spread? You're the only one who knew anything about it.
Ada.
I thought, but I know so little.
More than anyone else, you have a responsibility.
Jill. To a higher command, the highest.
She and Chris touch eyes again, this time with understanding. Interior, D-Lab, timeless. The tyrant flexes its monumental muscles. The ice around it cracks or clings. The giant heart dangling outside its chest pumps rapidly, sending fluids through exposed synthetic veins that run to the creature's brain. Barry.
That's one hell of a big pump. An implant. From what? A fucking elephant? Rhinoceros. Shit. I figured you knew more than you were telling.
Barry fires at the encased organ. His bullets bounce off the shielding with no effect.
How do we kill this thing? I told you, we don't. We can't. It's unstoppable.
More ice pops off the monster's pectorals. Interior runway. Close on Ada's face.
I don't know if I can face this.
She and the escapees are no longer in the cubicle. They're in the runway.
Just get us upstairs. I'll take care of it from there.
All right. Come.
They break out at the run, clacking along the faceted steel floor of the movable and still moving corridor. Kerrung.
Krung.
They're nearly knocked off their feet when the system suddenly stops dead. Ada slams her fist onto one of the jigsaw tiles on the wall, another red one which glows from within. A panel grinds open, revealing interior freight corridor. A more natural-looking corridor.
Oh.
Halfway across, there are steel prongs that protrude from a wall. The group starts toward them, but stops when a soul-shiveringly sound fills the passageway. The hungry moaning of things that are dead.
Doors were left open.
Interior, D-Lab. The tyrant breaks free of the last bit of his restricting ice. Wesker freaks. Oh, no! Whimpering, he gropes with his hand. It's outside the plexiglass door. He grabs something. A boot. Brad Vickers' boot. Wesker tugs on it. Barry opens fire on the tyrant, full bore with his M16. The stream of bullets does nothing except make the monster notice the big man. Interior, freight corridor. The escapees run down the corridor. Shapes appear at the far end. Zombies. 20, 30, 40 more. The walking remains of humans who were infested in the labs, crawling over each other, hungry for living flesh. The humans reach the freight loader. Prongs, like those on a forklift, extend from a heavy chain drive that runs up and down through openings in the floor and ceiling. Ada swipes her red key through a slot and pushes a button. The chain drive grinds upward, hoisting the prongs.
Step on.
Ada pushes Rebecca onto the next set of prongs that come up out of the floor. The footing is precarious. Rebecca has to hold onto the chain as she is hoisted. The lift moves slowly, 8 feet separating each set of prongs. The ghouls continue to press in.
I don't know if it's going to happen.
Rodriguez. Come on. I've been waiting all day for something like this. Rosie opens fire. Chris and Jill follow suit as Ada steps onto the next set of prongs. Blood flies. Skulls shatter. Front ranks drop. Zombies from behind push their fallen comrades ahead of them. The corridor is like a syringe filled with corrupted bodies, pushing inexorably forward. Rosie, teeth gritted, keeps firing while Chris forces Jill onto the next set of prongs. As she rises, she hands her M16 to Chris. He slings it onto his arm while levering his old Winchester, making each of his shots count, until the next set of prongs rises out of the floor.
Hey, Rosie, you're up.
Rodriguez. I'm having too much fun. You got a lady. I got me. I ain't gonna die in this rat hole. I'll make it. Get out of here. Chris hands Jill's rifle to Rosie, who fires with both hands as Chris jumps onto the lift. Zombies are mowed down, but more come. The syringe keeps pressing. The next prongs rise. Rosie steps on, still blasting. The first zombies grab her. Reach her. Shooting down, she blows them away, but more come, grabbing her legs, grabbing the chains, rocking the prongs. Rosie nearly falls. She drops one of the rifles in order to hold on. She carefully picks off the most threatening zombies. Miraculously, she rises out of their reach and into interior freight shaft. A very tight, very dark space with sheet metal walls that have been bruised by loads of freight. The rumble of the chain drive echoes frighteningly. Above Rosie, the others rise slowly, very slowly, feeling apprehensive, vulnerable. Rebecca at the top looks up and sees light spilling through an opening through which she is about to pass.
Ada calling up to her. Level C, have your weapons ready.
Rodriguez. Whoop-de-doo. Rebecca's eyes rise above the floor of level C. All seems quiet, but who knows what might be lurking. Interior, D-Lab. The tyrant, still a bit sluggish, steps down from the platform that supported its tank. Barry jams in a fresh clip and keeps firing at the thing. The tyrant, impervious, stalks after the big trooper. Wesker is still on the floor, his arm through the door, tugging on Vickers' boot. The flesh on Wesker's forearm is peeled by the bumpers as he uses all his strength to drag Vickers' body close until the boot winds up in the opening, preventing the doors from closing. Wesker manages to pull his bloody arm free. He rushes to a computer console and types a request for the T-virus. Barry.
Get under a desk, man. I'm gonna feed this thing a pineapple.
Barry pulls a grenade from his belt.
Wesker. No! It might damage the system. I've got to get this data.
Wesker's M16 has been lying where he left it on the console. He picks it up.
Barry. Forget it. Bullets don't work.
Barry is about to pull the pin on the grenade when Wesker triggers off a burst into Barry's gut.
Oh, no.
Wesker. They seem to work just fine.
Barry is blasted across the lab. The tyrant makes its first quick move, making us appreciate how fast and powerful it really is. It swipes at Barry's body as it flies through the air, catching in its steel claw. We hear bones snap as Barry goes limp.
Wesker. That's it. Take a little lunch break, Mr. T. I just need a few more seconds.
The tyrant lifts Barry's body as if it was light as a feather up to its snout. Recognizing that the man is dead, the monster flings him aside like so much garbage and begins to lumber toward Wesker.
Come on, come on.
A monitor reads 90% complete, 95, 98. Wesker rests a finger on the button to eject the floppy. The tyrant is getting close by the second. Wesker fires a burst at it, which only slows it for a heartbeat. 100%. Transfer completed. Wesker ejects the floppy, jams it in his flak jacket, and firing another burst, runs for the door. The tyrant has to move around the desks and computer consoles to catch him. Wesker shoves his M16 through the space that's being held open by Vickers' boot, begins to pry open the opening wider. A warning buzzer goes off. The tyrant dimly registers the sound. Its eyes dilate like camera shutters with a click-click. It strides forward at top speed, pitching desks easily aside, smashing through a console as if it were made of balsa. Wesker has pried the doors wide. The tyrant is coming at him fast. It's going to be very close. Wesker makes it. He gets outside. The doors begin to glide shut. He laughs.
Eat shit, you.
Fling. The tyrant's long bionic claws shoot with the speed of switchblades through the opening. Just before the doors meet, 4 of the claws skewer Wesker, passing clean through him. He doesn't die instantly. He's still alive and screaming when the tyrant uses the same hand with Wesker impaled on it to push the doors open wide again. The action causes Wesker's head to be sliced off by one of the steel bumpers. The tyrant steps out of the lab. As the doors glide shut, the monster holds the remainder of Wesker's body inside their path. The bumpers are stopped by the tyrant's iron hand, which it extracts, letting the doors scrape the dead meat from its claws. Interior, freight shaft. Rebecca's approaching another opening.
Ada. Level B.
The corridor on level B is long and narrow, with only occasional pools of light from bare, overhanging bulbs. Rebecca rises like a spirit out of the floor. She lifts her weapon. Her eyes dart looking for danger. There are none.
I don't see any. Ada. Good.
Interior, freight shaft. Rebecca rises through the ceiling.
Ada. We're almost there. You'll have to jump off. The belt won't stop.
As the echo of Ada's voice rings off, Rebecca looks up and screams. Something dives down on her out of the darkness. She ducks, almost losing her balance. She clings to the chain as other things, black, relatively small, whip past her head.
Bats! There are bats in here! No, they're crows. Infected. Don't let them bite you.
Rebecca dodges with new urgency as the blackbirds dive past her. Looking up, she sees more. She aims her M16 and fires up the shaft. 2 birds are hit. They plummet. One hits Ada. She swats it aside. It drops all the way down to Rosie, who jumps, gasping when it hits her. Rodriguez. Rats. Flying rats. Beneath her, Rosie sees the crows hovering in the light from level B. They circle and start to fly up again. Rosie opens fire, filling the shaft with ribbons of lead. Another bird dives from above and takes a chunk out of Rosie's cheek. Rodriguez. Ah, you fucker.
You all right?
Rodriguez. Yeah, I'm cool. Rosie keeps firing. The deafening sound of her M16 keeps her from hearing a crotch in the sheet metal wall. A second later, rip. The metal is torn apart like tissue paper. Something dark lunges from the opening. It's the surviving hunter. One of its steel claws grabs the chain drive. The mechanism stops dead. Quick cuts of the escapee slipping, nearly falling as they hang onto the chain. Rebecca.
I thought it wasn't supposed to stop. Ada, climb out, now.
Rebecca has nearly reached level A. She's able to hoist herself up and roll to safety. Ada tries to climb. The chain is greasy. Her hands slip below the hunter, lets go of the mechanism. The chain jerks. The escapees nearly lose their balance again. Rosie at the bottom is being lifted toward the hunter's free hand. She jumps down, barely catching the next set of prongs beneath her. At the top, Ada reaches level A. Rebecca catches her and pulls her up onto level A. Jill is next, rising slowly. Rebecca and Ada reach down and grab her arms just as the mechanism stops again. The hunter has grabbed the chain again. His free hand swings, clutching at Rosie, who crouches, avoiding capture. Jill is pulled to safety. She turns and reaches down for Chris, who starts to climb the chain, his hands slipping on the grease.
Rosie!
I'm all right. She's not all right. She's trapped. She can't get up past the hunter. She fires at the thing. Bullets bounce off its protective steel underhide. Chris climbs 3 feet, slides back 2. The others reach down from above. Their hands come within inches, but can't quite catch hold of him. Rodriguez. Here, you lizard. You fucking cockroach. Straining to reach Rosie, the hunter lets go of the chain for a second, then latches on again. That second lifts Chris to within reach of Jill and the others. They grab his arms, lift him up. That second has also brought Rosie within reach of the monster. Its claws comb her hair. She tries to duck lower while keeping her balance on the prongs. Thwack! Something crashes through the wall. A monstrous claw that impales the hunter. It's the claw of the tyrant.
The tyrant now.
The chain mechanism begins to rise again. Rosie, cringing, is lifted past the monster just as it leans its head and shoulders into the shaft to examine what it's caught. Disappointed, the tyrant scrapes the hunter off its claw. It drops down, way down the shaft. The tyrant turns its clicking, dilating eyes up at Rosie and chung purposely stops the rising chain. Rodriguez, bad news, guys. This thing's not so stupid.
Climb, Rosie!
No, I'm finished. I live here now.
Rosie! Rosie, no!
Rosie dives off the prongs directly at the tyrant. With another lightning move, the monster catches her in its bionic claw, crushing her ribs with blood spurting from her mouth. She utters her last words. Eat me, you pile of shit! Interior, level A. Ada is the most pragmatic.
Come.
Rosie.
Come. You've convinced me that there were larger matters. We're at the top. You said you'd get us out.
Ada's words snap Chris back to the urgency of their situation. He struggles to his feet.
This way.
They're in the mansion, which Chris knows well. He leads his small troop into interior powder room. A small powder room decorated garishly in an East Indian motif. A ceramic tiger's head sits atop a vanity. Chris grabs it and twists it on a pivot. A panel spins. The commode disappears into the wall, opening a secret passage.
Hell of a shit house. Jill, the guy was a bootlegger with a sense of humor.
Chris leads the others into interior clock room. A small blank chamber. The only thing it holds is a grandfather clock.
I hope they haven't disabled this.
Chris opens the door that covers the clock face. He quickly spins the hands until they hit high noon. Gronk! A wall begins to grind open, straining against rust, dirt from years of idleness. Cobwebs are pulled apart and daylight appears.
All right, we made it.
Chris urges the others out through the opening. At the same time, he checks the detonator. The LED is down to 6 minutes and counting. Interior, Huey. At the controls of his helicopter, LaGuardia spots something. Exterior, mansion, Huey's point of view.
I'm going in.
You don't have the authority.
Fuck authority.
Exterior, mansion. Chris climbs out of the secret exit. The others, having spotted the incoming chopper, are waving at it. There's a sense of relief, of salvation. Only Chris notices. A bit of plaster falling away from one of the mansion's stone walls.
Watch it. Watch it!
Crash!
The tyrant bursts through the walls with superhuman speed. What name is that thing?
Something we weren't supposed to see. Drop the ladder and drop the stinger.
Exterior mansion, yard. The Huey swoops down as low as safety will allow. A faceted aluminum piece who run, dodge, barely escaping the swishing swipe of its iron claw. Interior, Huey. Running up first, Ada begins to climb, then Rebecca. The tyrant closes in, swiping at Chris. Chris doesn't hear. Jill does.
Toss it to me!
The radio man drops the stinger, a rocket with a shoulder launcher, down into Jill's hands. Chris hits the dirt. The tyrant tries to crush him by stepping on him. Chris rolls away. Ladder's too wobbly. Jill can't be sure of launching an accurate shot.
Chris!
Chris looks up, sees Jill holding the rocket launcher. He runs past the tyrant, okey-doking left, right, then dodging left again. Okey-dokey. The monster swipes at him with his elongated claw. Chris's flak jacket is caught. Protective fibers fly, but Chris escapes without injury. Jill pitches the weapon. Chris catches it. The tyrant is on him, about to stomp him with a bionic foot when Chris aims at the monster's rhinoceros heart and fires. The rocket connects, on target. The casing around the animal heart explodes, and the tyrant drops like a giant redwood on top of Chris's legs. As Chris tries to free himself, he checks the detonator. 3 minutes, 2:59, 8, 7, 6. LaGuardia drops his chopper a bit lower. The bottom of the ladder hits the ground, coming within Chris's reach. He grabs on. Helicopter rises again. Chris is lifted out from under Tyrant's steel body and is lifted into the air. He climbs frantically. Above him, Jill is still up on the ladder as well. Ada and Rebecca pull her up. Chris dangles as the Huey banks over the forest. The tops of trees whip his legs, but he hangs on, climbing up until the others catch his hands and hoist him into the chopper. Chris checks the LED. 1 minute, 45 seconds. Jill.
Huh? Oh, sorry, I missed it. We have to get out of range.
No, circle around, LaGuardia. Are there more survivors? No, just circle, okay? I want to take a last look.
The Huey banks into a circle. Chris looks down at exterior, aerial point of view, the mansion. And just over the hills, his farm. Interior, Huey, Jill.
It's your home.
Chris looks at her with a resigned smile.
I hoped it would be our home.
I guess we're gonna be moving.
Chris checks the LED. 38 seconds.
Full throttle, pilot. Get out of here, man.
LaGuardia pushes his stick. The Huey lunges forward at top speed. Rebecca, Ada, and Jill are pressed back through by inertia. Chris holds himself erect. Through the window in the receding sky, he spots an eagle riding the wind. Cut to the Arklay Forest, the mansion. Plume! The ground erupts from an enormous underground explosion. The mansion is reduced to particulate as the shockwave spreads outward. Exterior farm. Chris's farmhand rake is shambling out of the house. A zombie when the explosive force hits, tearing him apart. Exterior Raccoon City. The town is empty, except for 9 lonely figures lumbering down Main Street. They too are zombies. The hot wave hits. 2 are vaporized. Fire engulfs 2 more. The brains of 2 others are destroyed by flying debris, which catches the remaining 3 as well. Arms are torn off. Iron shafts from shattered plumbing. Shards of window glass. Slats from picket fences. Punch through necks, chests, bellies. But the dead things, their skulls undamaged through billows of dust. Drooling hungrily. The screen goes black.
And credits.
And then they did not make this, huh?
Everybody, I want to say, let's talk. All right.
Good job,
First
everybody.
of all,
Good job.
A big round of applause for Jeff Cork,
Yeah.
who just
Took a brunt of that.
basically filibustered like this last 2.5 hours straight with more exposition than Wade was talking to me before we
yeah.
started. That like what Romero did here was like a pretty big like modern screenwriting faux pas
This was a novel.
of like a ton of exposition.
It's an absurd amount of exposition.
Also, I want to really give it up for Wade with
Oh,
10
God.
times the production.
Yeah, well done,
Wade,
Well
your
done.
fingers must be bleeding with your soundboard skills back there. We arranged some Resident Evil sounds ahead of time to kind of set the tone, but
And Jam
good.
Lion, how would you have prepared that?
Yeah.
I mean,
That was
really.
Right.
amazing.
I learned something, which is one, table reading accurately with blindly is incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
I had a hard time keeping up with like the pace of it and like finding out where we are. But you guys did a good job. Hopefully, it was easy enough to follow the core action. There's a lot more characters, which I realized like they don't want to kill off the main cast a lot,
Right,
so they
sure.
need a lot of peripheral characters to get killed. It's a horror movie anyway.
Well, I mean, that scientist character, Toshiro,
Oh, yeah.
was around forever.
Oh,
I mean,
or Fox.
we all fell in love with
This
him.
is our home
Remember
now.
Fox? Fox.
We did a good job of
Remember
picking
Benjamin?
like characters for you guys that would split off, so you're stuck doing these like
Oh,
back
yeah.
and forths with yourself.
Almost exclusively, like we gave Reeves the lady characters, thinking that they probably wouldn't be like
Right.
overlapping a lot.
Turns out.
Ada,
Rebecca, and Jill all in the same room.
Talking about
Talking to each other.
like on the script itself, like not a good movie script. It seems like but definitely truer to the game than like 100% truer to the game than
most of the
Paul
others,
W.S.
yeah.
Sequence.
And
That's
that
not a
laser,
compliment,
that
though.
laser sequence was interesting.
What's bizarre is that laser grid sequence in the Resident Evil movie that released, the first one, it like they're lasers that kill people, like dice them into itty
Yeah.
bits. Came back in Resident Evil 4, so it's like, where did that start from? Like, was that a Capcom idea? Like, hey, we have this idea, or was that Romero, and then that made it through?
God, I remember we actually asked, was it Habayashi?
Yeah.
The producer of the
Hirabayashi?
remake. Yeah, Hirabayashi, the producer of the remake of Resident Evil, about that specifically in one of our video interviews.
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah.
go back and look what he says.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a recurring motif. But
What's interesting to me is like this first draft was written in October of 1998,
yeah, which is 2 years later,
which is
after the game came out.
yeah. But I mean, when did the second game come out?
It was 98.
It was 98. I don't remember
And-
what part, but it seems like most of this was based on pretty much just the first game.
True. And on the story that the article on Game Informer, I posted a making of George Romero's Resident Evil 2 commercial. He actually did direct a Resident Evil 2 commercial.
Oh,
And
weird.
it's like behind the scenes, him talking about like, oh, I can see the inspiration of my Night of the Living Dead movies inside of the Resident Evil game. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it's an interesting little nod. And then it's just like in the script.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was the laser thing was something I wanted to bring bring up. But otherwise, you got Plant 42. You got the sharks. You have the snake, which is like it's like a double boss
like
battle.
part of-
confusing.
That was
Yeah.
It's
interesting.
inside the plant, like shoehorned in there.
I kept expecting spiders to show up. I was kind of
Yeah.
surprised about that.
Like the whole guardhouse thing is out. The
Yeah.
caverns is kind of out. But
There are more eagles and hawks than I remember.
yeah, way more.
yeah, Redfield not Chris, of course, not being a Stars member at all, like we were
Right.
talking about before, is kind of an interesting twist.
And Native American, is that part of the?
He's just
That was
he's just
interesting.
a white dude as far as like his background, like from what you're supposed to believe anyway. So,
No,
Well-
you're Mohawk, so you got that exemption.
but
Right.
good
Very
on
important detail.
good on Romero for. I mean, like there is a character. Sullivan is a black guy in the game, but like he seems like he spiced up the script with like actual more diversity and stuff.
Blackberry?
Yeah, which is kind of
That's
good.
cool, yeah.
Well, it's interesting
Yep.
because Ada was basically just a password in the first game, so it's like you
Yeah.
made her a big character when
Yeah, that's a good
she
point.
wasn't really a character.
But Ada was connected to one of the scientists because that's why she was a password, is because she was undercover kind of dating one of the Umbrella scientists. So it's not like inconceivable. Like she exists technically as a character in the universe of Resident Evil 1, but isn't actually seen until Resident Evil 2. So it was a cool twist. Gets more characters in there. So many characters.
Did anybody expect to see like a I hope this isn't Chris's blood or some kind of reference to a Jill sandwich or anything?
I did, but it just the only little self-indulgent thing was the Night of the Living Dead reference. This is home now, or so I live here now.
Yeah, the chat wants to know what the deal is with that.
I don't know. Is that a reference to anything?
No, I think it's just
know. I
her.
don't think
She's
so.
like
That's her
It's
personality.
joke. I like 'cause I
Yeah.
thought Rodriguez was going to die off immediately, and
Yeah,
she's
so
up
did
until
I.
the very end.
Yeah. So, thank you for watching that. For those of you that did, sorry we couldn't deliver on that during Extra Life, but I lost my voice from the ghost peppers and all that
We
stuff.
would
and
have
being
fallen
sick.
asleep.
Honestly,
would've
like
been
this would have been a pretty bonkers way to end it, and it
Yeah.
would have been loopier. But I don't know. That was a lot of fun. Yeah.
If you guys enjoyed it, maybe we can do other things like this in the
Yeah.
future. I don't know.
Let
maybe.
let us know what you thought about it.
we
We've never
learned some
really
things.
we've never really done this before.
We could do Frank Darabont's Indiana Jones 4 script.
We
That's
could.
online.
That sounds like
I
a
would
lot
do
of
that.
fun.
That
actually.
would be awesome.
So again, thank you to the Extra Life donors and viewers who stuck with us a few weeks back. Thank you for helping us raise over $38,000. We owed this to you. This is kind of like our thank you and following through on that promise. But other than that,
We're even now.
Remember to tell your friends about Extra Life next year.
That's right. And Extra Life is still open. If you go to Team Game Informer on extralife.com, you can still donate now.
Yep, the link is live in the video right now.
Yes, thank you, Wade. So if you liked this and you kind of want to show some support, leave a comment that says that you liked the script reading. But
Donate whatever you think this was worth.
Mr. George Romero, that was his script for Resident Evil that was rejected. Interesting what could have been. So thank you guys for joining me on
Good
this,
job, guys.
and thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.
We live here now.
Cleopatra, is that you?